Hello. My
Hello.
goodness, wow, we're actually talking in real life. How are you?
No, I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm great, yeah. I'm glad we can finally do this, actually. It's been a long time like we've spoke about it, so, it's great to actually finally do this. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you for, coming to do this, because obviously the time zone difference and stuff, and, we're both busy people, so, yeah, thank you.
No, I appreciate the invite and really happy to be here. Um, might be a technical issue on my side. I only see my video.
Oh, right. Um,
Yeah.
ah, do you want me to try and start the live again?
Maybe kick me out and then I'll
Okay.
request again and see if that makes any difference.
Okay, one moment, one moment. Right, I'm actually do not know how you do this. One second. Right, let's try it. Let's try that again. Can you see?
Just myself,
Oh no. Oh no.
which I see all the
Oh dear.
time.
Oh dear.
Hmm,
Not good. Welcome to Instagram Live. It's absolute.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're going to try and do this somehow. But anyway, I've got many, 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 many questions for you. Like I remember the first time that I spoke to you was on an email. I think you was at the Venetian, I believe, on the
Mm,
Las Vegas, and you was having a Q&A with Hal Prince, I think. And that's the
yes.
first time I made contact with you many, many years ago.
Oh,
And
that is throwing it back.
it was actually, I was trying to ask you about a phantom mask and where to get a good phantom mask from, and you got me in contact with a man called Eric Hag, who made the German masks,
Yep.
and that's our first ever communication. Like I can actually remember that, it's just this is crazy, like, but yeah. So you kind of started me off on this journey. So and you started many fans off as well on the journey, coming, doing this as for fun, So thank you for that.
No, you're welcome. And thank you for letting me know. I love hearing from folks that have used the website, seen the tutorials, kind of been with me on the journey. And like you said, it is a journey. We all kind of start somewhere. So I'm more than happy to help people along in any way that I can. If any of this nonsense that I do helps somebody, I'm thrilled to hear it. So I'm really glad you reached out back then, and I'm glad you reached out now, so we can kind of do a little bit of this live for everybody to kind of see. And that way, if anybody has any questions, we can kind of answer real time and go through
Yes.
it. So,
Um, so to begin with, right? Can you not see me at all? Then is it just completely dark, black?
it's
Right.
completely
Oh
dark.
no. Oh no. Okay, so I'm sitting here in the ball cap with a little bit of left side on, but absolutely zero right side on. So
Yep.
right. So
Yep.
where do we begin?
Well, I think we should back up real quick and just have a quick chat about kind of the makeup in general for folks that maybe aren't as familiar with it as we are. So we can kind of talk about why we do it and the tools that we use.
Yes.
And then we can kind of get into the application of it. So as we know, of course, our boy, Eric, the Phantom, has some kind of facial disfigurement. And depending on the version that you subscribe to, whether it's the Angelique Weber version or Gaston Leroux or any other, they all kind of have their own look. And so to achieve that, we use something called special effects makeup. And that is essentially just doing anything from face paint really to full on use of prosthetic appliances, which you're wearing one right now. I'm wearing one. I just dropped one on the floor, so I will go retrieve that. Well,
Oh
I'm
dear.
back. It didn't want to be on the video. Um, so this is a prosthetic appliance, which you're familiar with, but somebody else might not be. So um, this particular one, and I believe yours as well, are made by Darren at Studio D Effects,
Yes.
and they're what we call slush latex or slip latex, and so they're basically just liquid latex poured into a mold and allowed to dry. Um, different types of materials that we use all over in the effects makeup world. We have foam latex, which is a little bit softer than this, and that's foam latex is what they use in the actual show, and also silicone prosthetic appliances. You have lots of different options, and depending which version of the Phantom you're kind of going for, some lend themselves better to that than others. But for us and doing, the Angela Weber design, which is very popular amongst cosplayers, we tend to use either foam latex or slush latex prosthetic appliances. So what do these look like? They are pretty thin, a little bit stretchy, and they have these really, really thin edges. I'll try to hold it up to the camera. These really thin, paper thin edges that we blend into the skin to make it look more realistic. So we'll be talking about that a lot later when we get into the actual applying side of it. But the trick with using special effects makeup, prosthetic makeup especially, is getting a really good glue job down, getting the edges down and blended in smoothly into the skin, because that really heightens the believability of the makeup. So I spent a lot of time
as an amateur, because you're more experienced than I at doing this. I must say, doing it on your own, it is very, very hard, and it does take, like, you've perfected it over a very long time, but anyone who's coming into this new, goodness gracious me, like, even just doing the ball cap alone, it is quite a challenging thing,
It is. It absolutely is. And you're right. Especially, I think the ball cap might be probably the most difficult part of it to do on your own, because ideally, if you were doing this in a truly professional setting, you'd have multiple people helping and apply that, one to hold it down in the front, somebody to pull it back over the back of the head and glue it. So yeah, you're right. Doing this makeup on your own is extremely challenging, and it does take a while to perfect. And so I guess that kind of leads me into my next point before we actually get started with it. Is if anybody's thinking about doing this, just please know it's not kind of an overnight successful kind of thing. You have to really practice it. So I have a lot of tutorials on my website at phantomonabudget.com. I encourage everybody who's the least bit curious about this to go ahead and go on there and look at the different tutorials for all the different versions of Phantom that I've done so far. And there's supply lists on there, so you know what to go shopping for, and there's a whole step-by-step instructions. So you can kind of go at it at your own pace and kind of, make the mistakes. You learn by making mistakes. Mistakes are fine. And just know, for everybody that's thinking about this, you really do have to keep practicing at it. I've, as you said, I've been at this for a while. I've been doing this for a little over 20 years. But if you actually break down the number of times I've actually done the makeups, I only get into this once or twice a year. Really not that much. So, like I said, it's a constant practice, and there are ways to practice cheap. You don't have to buy, Phantom prosthetics to practice blending edges. You don't have to buy the Phantom prosthetics to practice your paint job. You can do that at home without some of the more expensive supplies. So, yeah, just please know it's not I've watched a tutorial and I've done it once and I should be great at it. It is definitely as Gormaz said in the comments, I'm looking trial and error.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, like I said, mistakes are okay. I've made mistakes all the time. I made a mistake today on one of my edges, and I'm just dealing with it because that's what happens in makeup. Sometimes you have a plan and things don't go to plan. So you have to learn to kind of go with it.
Yeah, most definitely. There's also quite a little expenditure to this makeup as well. It's not exactly a cheap thing to do as well. Like the whole get-up itself, wig, prosthetic makeup, and the other makeup as well. It's not exactly cheap for a beginner either. But it is doable on a budget, as you say. You can go to the local drugstore and get some cheap makeup and try and do it yourself. But it is definitely a learning progress. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. No, great point. And like you said, kind of doing the practice with some of the cheaper stuff, and I have some of that on my website listed. So if you need to go shopping locally, you can get most of the stuff locally. It wouldn't be the super nice, stage accurate stuff that we kind of all strive for, but it's materials that you can practice with and kind of get better with. Yes. So that by the time you do spend the money, you have a little bit of skill.
I did something. Well, I tried to get some Crayola makeup. And I'll tell you something now, the price of that is just ridiculous. Like 3 items cost me £50, you know? So
Yep.
so yeah, just trying to stick with the cheaper stuff if you can. Yeah, my goodness. Yeah.
Absolutely. Again, on my website's kind of a list, but you really only need a handful of things to give this a shot. You don't have to go for the super Gucci stuff that I have now that I've accumulated over 20 years. Simple eyeshadow palettes like this, you don't have to get them from, a name manufacturer like Kryolan or Ben Nye. You can get them from your local supermarket.
Yeah.
They almost always have a cosmetic section, and those might cost you £5 or £6, $7 or $8 in the US. Um, and those work just as effectively for the most part as a name brand nice one. So that kind of stuff, liquid latex, if you're not allergic to liquid latex, can be,
Yes.
had fairly cheaply, and that's a great product for those that don't have a latex allergy because you can do a lot of different type of makeup effects with it. So some of this stuff can be acquired at a much lower cost if you know where to look, and hopefully I've put some of those hints on my website. So again, just encourage everybody to go there if they're curious about it. But starting out, yeah, you kind of have to get a few basic things like liquid latex, or if you're allergic to liquid latex, maybe some gelatin, which you can actually make the gelatin at home with a handful of things that you buy at the supermarket or the local pharmacy or chemist. So it can be done. It takes a little bit of patience.
Yeah. Like also talking about errors that can happen. The first time I ever did this, which I've only ever done this 3 times, so I'm not like an expert at it by any chance, but the first time I did it, I didn't block my eyebrow, and I put spirit gum into my eyebrow to try and stick on the prosthetic. And when I pulled it off, literally half of my eyebrow went missing with it as well, and it was very painful. So, and I didn't have the remover as well, the adhesive remover. My goodness, it was very painful. So just be very careful doing it as well. Yeah, my goodness.
Definitely. Yeah, that'll get you every time. It's those adhesives, the glues are no joke. Yeah, definitely. I think there are a couple of questions I want to address real quick before we start talking about some of the supplies that we're going to use. One question from Jaden said, where can I get a mask and prosthetics for cheapish? I think your two mask suppliers for, less expensive but still quality masks are going to be Studio D Effects and Layer Sculptures. So what I've seen from both of them, they look great. Layer Sculptures uses a new technique, 3D printing, which they don't do in the show, but I've seen some of his stuff online. It looks really good. Studio D uses the classic, he's sculpted the different masks and he's made molds, and so he does a vacuforming, which is how they make the masks in the show. So both of them about the same price point, not too expensive. Justin Longshore obviously he's been a long-term producer of masks for fans and cosplayers, and he's great, but he is a little bit more expensive. And then prosthetics, you have a couple options. Again, Darren at Studio D produces prosthetics. They're not super cheap. Yeah, and I think you have some of those, right? Again, they're not super duper cheap, but it is possible to use them multiple times. I personally don't do that, and I don't recommend it, but it is possible if you're very careful about removing them and cleaning them. So you can get more than one use out of those prosthetics. And he's kind of really the only name in the game with prosthetics at the moment. I think Luke Bartolo is producing some as well. So he's on Instagram. So look at him. And if you don't know who that is, please DM me and I'll shoot you his way. But really, yeah, actually those two are kind of the only ones. But the other option is that you can either make the prosthetic yourself with the tutorials that I have on my website, and that way you can make prosthetics whenever you want for not a lot of money, pennies really each time. Or you can do something what we call an out of kit makeup. And an out of kit makeup is basically you're not using prosthetic appliances. You are taking liquid latex and cotton wool or special effects gelatin, and you're applying it directly to your face to create the same type of look. So you're essentially building it up on your face as you go. And that's relatively inexpensive as well. So those are two options. I think that's okay. I think that's enough questions. Let me scroll real quick and see if there are any. All right. Oh, Louise. Hi, Louise. Louise said that there, with a lot of makeup companies, there's a high-brand expensive version and a low-cost version under a different name, like L'Oreal and YSL, for example, on the cosmetic side, so like cosmetic makeup. Does the same happen for prosthetics? Not really. No. Again, really kind of, there are only two people that I know of that are actively making phantom prosthetics at the moment. And as far as professionally done, it's really those two. There was, I think, Makeup or FX Warehouse online was doing a phantom prosthetic for a while in foam, but they have discontinued that. So there's no real other option. And then one last one for Jade, and then we can start talking about some supplies and everything else. What if I wanted to do the LaRue version instead of the Angelique Weber version? Again, go to my website. I'm just going to keep saying that over and over again, because if anybody hasn't seen my website and is really interested in makeup, I'm going to cry.
Yeah,
so
like your website is a godsend. It really is, because you've got every single, almost every single phantom variant of prosthetic. Like you've got the Andrew Lloyd Webber, Gaston Leroux, Lon Chaney, Claude Rains, 1943, and Robert England, 1989 makeup all on there. And there's many videos on YouTube as well, and absolutely fantastic stuff, guys. Literally, just that is the go-to website if anyone wants to try and recreate this.
I appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, so there's a LaRue tutorial on my website that you can look at. Again, you can kind of go at it at your own pace and try different things and see what you like. But that version has it where you build it up on your face. It's a little bit easier. However, if you also wanted to do LaRue with a prosthetic, you can go online and find like a zombie prosthetic. So like the one I used just the other day on the Charles Dance makeup that I did. So
amazing.
Thank you.
Really
but that was just a one-piece zombie prosthetic, and those are a dime a dozen on the internet. Again, not necessarily inexpensive, but they are very common. So you can just take that, apply it. It gives you that really kind of protruding brow, very sunken in eyes, and protruding cheekbone look. And then you just have to color it, and there you got LaRue. Bam. So. And Gormouse has had a really great comment. So if you want foam latex, and again, foam latex is what they use in the actual production of Phantom of the Opera, the Andrew Lloyd Webber version. It is a higher quality product than just a slush latex like this. It's foam, and it's a giant soft sponge, basically. It's very comfy to wear. So they said that you can actually use cold foam. So typically with foam latex, you have to have an oven to bake it. And it has to be a specialized oven, because you shouldn't be putting that in your actual oven. So nobody get the idea to put toxic materials in your oven. Don't. But the beauty of cold foam is you can afford it and you want to try to make your own foam latex prosthetics, then you can use cold foam instead, which doesn't need the heat to set up. So, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I wonder what production your makeup is based on there. I wonder.
Oh, I wonder.
I wonder. Not going to give anyone any spoilers, but yeah.
It's a big secret.
yes, a secret. Yeah, look absolutely fantastic. Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So if anybody hasn't seen it yet, this is going to be the Las Vegas version, which is very famous for its paint job, because it's just a wild paint job, wildly different than anything that we've seen. So I'm going to try to recreate that to the best of my ability and see how I do. But we'll see how it goes. Fingers crossed. So, okay. Shall we talk about some basic supplies, or maybe some adhesives and that kind of stuff, and then kind of get into it?
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're trying to make up, you've got a lot of different options for adhesives if you're doing a prosthetic type thing. There's really only one that I recommend strongly, and it's going to be what we call prosaide. or prosaide, depending how you say it. It's a medical grade adhesive. It's meant for gluing down prosthetics to your skin. You mentioned spirit gum, and I'm going to say this not to call you out, but because the 99% of people end up using spirit gum, and it's just because like the Halloween industry for some reason has like just decided it's married to spirit gum for some strange odd reason.
Yeah.
Spirit gum is not a great prosthetic adhesive because it's based on a natural rubber. When you apply it and you start to sweat in it, as will always happen between, your skin to the prosthetic, you'll start to sweat a little bit. When spirit gum comes into contact with sweat, it starts to crystallize. And as soon as it does that, it just loses kind of its adhesive properties, and the prosthetic will start to lift up from your face. So I don't recommend using spirit gum just because, one, it's almost just as expensive as prosaide, if not more expensive than prosaide. It doesn't do the job as well. And again, if you keep regluing and regluing and regluing, eventually you end up with this really kind of irritating clump of crystallized crap on your face, and that doesn't make your skin very happy either. So whenever possible, I try to tell people stay away from spirit gum. For me, the only real reason I have it is just to glue down the lace on my wigs. It's a great, not a prosthetic, but it's a great lace glue for hair and lace hair products, but not great with the prosthetic, unfortunately. But the good news with prosaide is that, again, it's about the same expensive price as spirit gum. So it's not vastly more expensive. It's not wildly unattainable. It's all over the market. You just have to go. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it online all over the place. And it's, to me, I think it's the much better way to go. So this, again, people are still going to use spirit gum, and that's fine. Another option too, is liquid latex, which in the grand scheme of how strong an adhesive is, liquid latex is pretty much on the bottom. It's not that great of an adhesive, but you can use it. And so how it goes, liquid latex kind of will adhere stuff. Spirit gum will adhere stuff until it decides that it hates you and it doesn't want to play anymore. Prosaide is a much better hold. Again, not too expensive. And then kind of on the top side of it, you have your silicone-based adhesives, and this one is called Telesis. This is one I have. This is not what you need if you're just starting off with phantom makeup. I have this because I love makeup and I like stuff to stay on my face long. So that's why I have that. But like I said, for those that are just looking to do this or try it out, get like a little bottle of prosaide. It'll cost you a couple of pounds and you'll be good to go.
Wow. Yeah, I've had an issue with spirit gum before. It just makes it more of a mess, I would say, as well, especially when you have to keep on applying it, because it does actually just lose its strength after time, especially one that I've been using anyway. So so I've bought like ProAid. Literally came the other day because you suggested it, so I've bought it. So and it's got the ball cap on, fantastic, and it's fantastic. It's good stuff. Yeah.
It's great stuff, and I love that it's not wildly expensive. It's about the same price. So for about the same price, you get a much better product for prosthetic work and bald caps. So. Got a couple more
shame you can't see me really, but yeah.
Man, I don't know what's going on. Like, I feel like I've done this before and it worked, but I guess if we get really desperate, we can always restart it and see if that helps. But I'll leave that to you. That's your call. Poor Masses is laying it in the comments. Thank you so much. I know they went to makeup school, so they know exactly what they're talking about. All right. Yeah, Matthew, Journey to the Layer, had a really good point that cosplayers tend to wear their makeup for a pretty long time. Like, we're going to conventions and that kind of stuff. We tend to want to put it on and wear it all day versus like on the stage show, almost nobody wears the prosthetic during like the interval between a matinee and evening performance anymore. We tend to get out of makeup, they go do their thing, and then come back and get back into makeup. Cosplayers, though, we tend to be in whatever we're doing all day, right? So definitely, as much as possible, again, stay away from the spirit gum because it is the devil's adhesive, and you want stuff to stay all day and stick, and minimize the number of touch-ups, which you're going to have to do touch-ups. That's the other thing to touch on real quick is like no matter how well you glue it, stuff is eventually going to become unglued, especially anything around in here, which you probably already figured out because you've done this once or twice already. Anything around the mouth.
And then you've got like half your lip hanging off, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't look good.
No, not at all. But it doesn't matter. I mean, you can't really do much about that just because that's the skin stretching and moving around the mouth. It's constantly in motion. So it's hard to keep things adhered down for much more than maybe a couple of hours with the best glue that you got. So expect to be able to touch things up. And if you're going to a convention and you're not staying nearby, bring a small little makeup kit with you to maybe, check with your bag and do a touch-up midday. It's a good option.
It's amazing how much of it the makeup sweats off as well, like especially at a convention with the lighting. My goodness, it just all falls off, and then your shirt's covered in makeup. Yeah, it's not it's not fun.
No, and I think that's again, not a ton of people do the makeup, right? And I understand that because it's a lot of maintenance, it's a lot of work ahead of the actual cosplay that you have to do.
Yeah.
So, hopefully something that we're doing like today, this helps some people kind of get a better feel for it and take some mystery out of it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that's why like on movie sets or film sets, TV sets, you see the actor and maybe their creature makeup, but you also see a long line of makeup artists following them around everywhere.
Yes.
Between takes, touching things up, and even in the show, the makeup artist will be kind of around the corner just in case anything comes up. It needs to be glued back down. So it's definitely not a set it and forget it kind of thing, if that makes sense. Okay. Any other basic questions? Or do you have any questions before we get started in kind of the application side of it? Or any questions from the chat? None? Going once? Going twice? Okay. So we'll start talking about the application. So you remind me, because I cannot believe I can't see you. You've got the stall on or no?
Yeah, I've got the ball cap on.
Okay.
And I've blended it into whatever into my head, and then I've literally got the prosthetic in front of me waiting to go. What should I say?
Perfect. So first thing I like to do is, if you haven't already, just clean the skin off with something wherever it's going to go. Yeah. I like witch hazel. Is a nice astringent, but it's really mild. I've done that already. So that just keeps all the oils that naturally kind of come up on your skin, takes those away off the top layer so that you get a stronger bond to the skin. The other thing that you should do before you start gluing things down is make sure you've got all your stuff. So you've got your prosaide. Yeah. I recommend having some cotton tips handy. Q-tips for those of us in North America. A tongue depressor or popsicle stick just in case you need to lift up an edge. Maybe it gets glued down funny, you need to lift it back up. And then the cotton tips you can use to actually put the glue on and apply the glue, or if you have some brushes handy that are either disposable and you don't mind them getting trashed, or nice brushes and you have plenty of isopropyl alcohol, very strong, 91% or 99%, standing by to help dissolve the glue. There you go. So you've got all your stuff laid out in front of you. Yeah. Ready to go. Skin cleaned. So first thing I like to do is take the prosthetic, and again, I've got skull carrier on already, so I'm going to do the facial appliance and adjust my mirror so I can see what I'm doing. So I like to just offer it up to the face with no prosthetic glue, no anything, nothing at all. Just bring it up and see where it wants to sit on the face. And for most of us, buying prosthetics that aren't custom built for our face, there's not going to be a perfect fit. So you kind of have to move it around and see where it wants to sit, and where, certain things like this has a partial corner of the nose. I need to make sure that lines up with the corner of my nose. And how this prosthetic sits might not be the same every time I do it, because every time Darren pulls one of these for me, it's slightly different in the shape.
Yeah, so my last one was only bought like a few months apart, and this one's completely different compared to the first one.
Yeah. Yeah, and if anybody's wondering why, it's because for the slush latex, he has to hand paint the liquid latex into the mold. So how he ends up painting it might be slightly different each time. So the next thing I like to do is have some powder standing by, and this is a Ben Nye neutral set translucent powder. If you're on a budget, baby powder will work, but I like translucent powder because it's not as bright white. So what I like to do is just take a little bit of powder on a small powder puff, or cotton wool will work for this too. And I'll put this up against my face and find that right spot for it, where everything kind of lines up correctly. I'm like, okay, again, no glue involved yet. And then what I'm going to do is take this powder on this powder puff and go around just the edge. And what this does is it kind of gives me a little roadmap to follow.
That's the one that I'm using, the Miron translucent powder. Yeah.
Yep, and that's perfect. That's a good brand. But like I said, if you're in a pinch, baby powder will work too. All right. Then I take that away. Hopefully you can see that on camera. Now I have an outline of where the prosthetic is going to go. So what this tells me is where I need to put my glue, right? And again, you are going to use prosaide.
Yeah.
I'm going to use my Telesis just because I don't know how long I'm going to be in this today. So this is a step that you don't need to do. I'm doing one thing really quick. Because I have the silicone-based adhesive, it's called Telesis. It's very strong. I will quick throw some Telesis thinner on this area, because the thinner helps the adhesive work a little bit better. Again, okay. And if you're just doing prosaide, you don't have to worry about this step. No, even one less thing. One more benefit of prosaide. All right, so that's drying, and I'm going to take my prosthetic. This is the back side of it, front side of it. Lay it down front side down so that the back side is up facing you. And then what I'm going to do is, in the middle of the prosthetic, keeping away from the edges, I am going to paint just a little bit of the glue right in the middle of it. And I'm going to let that sit for a minute. Now both Telesis and the prosaide need a second to kind of set up. With prosaide, it's white, and if you try to stick something while it's still white, it means it's not ready to be sticky yet. So you have to wait for the prosaide to go clear, and then you can stick something to it. Yeah.
That's probably where I'm wrong on most then.
Yeah, it's just a matter of being patient with it. So now that you've got some prosaide in the middle of your prosthetic, you can go and do the same thing on your face, or wherever you're doing skull. I can't see what you're doing if you're doing face or skull.
I'm copying exactly what you're saying. So.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So now I'll go ahead and just throw some adhesive in the middle to match where I put it on the prosthetic. And do note that I'm not going anywhere near the edges yet, because those get glued down last. So I'm sticking only to the middle. And that's plenty. So I'm going to put that brush in my alcohol. This bottle of adhesive is on its last legs, and I'm trying to get rid of it today. It's all stringy and gross. Okay. I'm going to give that a second. I'm talking. Is anybody hearing the feedback of me talking, or is everything I'm saying coming across clearly?
Yeah, it's like struggling a little bit. It's a bit
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Give it a second. Hopefully we'll.
yeah. Just should have done this on Skype, really.
You're right. All right. So we've given a second. Is the prosaide on your side, is that gone clear on both your face and the prosthetic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then it's ready to go ahead and be married up to each other. So using your roadmap, now that we have this super handy outline of where this is going to go, it makes it a lot easier to adhere. So I'm going to start kind of by the corner of the nose and then press down and press in hard and just kind of keep pressing in gently until, maybe 20, 30 seconds. Because both of these kind of need some pressure to adhere to each other. But that's why we also do both the adhesive on the prosthetic and the face. And so it's a contact adhesive. So it does better when you have, there we go. Cool. And now it's anchored. So it's anchored right on the front kind of half corner. And now I can leave that alone and it's stuck down and it's good to go. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and move more to the side and get this flappy bit glued down. I think my glue brush has had it for the day, so I might have to switch to cotton bud. Okay. All right. Great question. So do you have a grace period if you don't quite get it done straight, or is it stuck immediately? Pretty much for prosaide, it's stuck immediately.
Yeah, this is completely on my face now. It won't be moving at all.
Yeah. So for prosaide, it's kind of, you just have to do it. For telesis, you actually do have a little bit of working period, and you can kind of pull it up for another couple of seconds after you put it down. If you're in a really tight spot, you can always go in with your makeup, not makeup, but your adhesive remover, like 91% or higher isopropyl alcohol, isopropyl myristate, whatever prosaide remover you have, and lift the edge up by basically just removing the glue and doing it again. And sometimes that does happen. That's fine. All right, so now I've got that glued down. So now the whole prosthetic is glued except for the outer edges. Bam. And this is the part that unfortunately I think a lot of people miss in doing their makeups, is just doing the blending edge of it. So it's one thing to just glue the prosthetic down. But if I were to walk away like this, you see those edges all over this thing. And it doesn't look terribly realistic that way, does it?
No.
No. So
I'm so glad for Photoshop. I better shut up actually saying that. But, yeah.
No, it's okay. So the tricky bit with doing prosthetic makeup is, for me, it's the realism, and the realism is kind of anchored in how well you blend the edges down. The paint job is still important. If you sculpted the prosthetics, the type of sculpt that you did is still important. That is all still, necessary for the overall look of the makeup. But to me, the number one thing that ruins the makeup is if the edges are just gross and not blended down at all, or not blended down well.
Yes. That's the only thing I really struggle with whilst doing this. Really, is the blending side of it. My goodness, it's just
hard. It's hard.
Yes, hard. Yeah.
And this is the part, I think the edges is where, don't mind me, I forgot to fill this giant lip, and if I don't put some cotton wool down there, it's just gonna be flat and weird looking. So I'm just gonna keep talking while I'm doing this. so that the edges for me is the tricky bit is, and that's where people need to practice the most is doing that. And you don't have to have a fancy prosthetic to do that. If you have some liquid latex, just put some liquid latex down on, if you have like a glass table or even like a ceramic plate, layer down some liquid latex in a few different layers, all right, powder it, take it up, and then you have a prosthetic. And then you can practice blending that prosthetic into your skin. So it doesn't have to be an expensive thing to practice, but definitely please do practice. All right, got some filler in there now. There, that's better. Cool. All right, so with edges, because we've left these up and unglued, what we're going to start doing is going in with your prosaide and picking a corner that you want to start with, and the nose is really pissing me off, so I'm going to start with the nose.
Okay.
So really important when you're gluing, you want to go all the way to where the glue already is. So I'm kind of going down into the prosthetic and hitting where it's already adhered. Ideally, you don't want any gaps in the glue. And I'm going to go a little bit beyond that powder roadmap that we laid down and just put a little extra glue on the outside of it so that when I go and stick this down, there's plenty of glue in that area. I don't have to like lift it up and try it again. I give that a second to set up. And this goes a little bit faster. If you have a hair dryer, put it on I recommend, ideally, if you have a hair dryer and you put it on cool setting on low and just do a quick 2 or 3 second blast, take it away, 2 or 3 seconds, repeat that once or twice, and it should help the glue dry much faster. So for you are waiting until that prosthetic adhesive goes clear. And for me, I'm just waiting for Telus to do its thing. It's all stringy and gross. I also like, for the edge work, I also like to have a damp cloth. This can be a damp paper towel. It can be a damp hand cloth. Doesn't matter. This helps me kind of press into the edges without my gloves or my fingers stuck to whatever it is I'm gluing. So that's helpful. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and start pressing down from the center out. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to bring this damp cloth up and start rolling out toward the outside. And rolling out like this helps keep the edge from getting like bent on itself or coming back under itself and getting folded, basically. I'm going to hold this down real quick. All right, so now we've got the nose glued. Happy day. Yeah, and Grimassa said blending edges is tricky.
Yeah.
Understatement of the century. But the trick again is to put a little extra glue on the edge and go a little bit further out than you know the edges, and so that when the edge does come in contact with it, it's definitely glued down. All right. I'm going to go work probably down under the eye and around the back, and then just glue the mouth down last because it's the most problematic. And there's another step to this, but we'll do that after the fact, and that's just kind of the top sealing of the edge. So this is just getting the initial edge glued down. All right, so same thing, going in and putting in, keeping it out of your eyelashes like a tool. A little extra glue just outside the boundary there and giving it a second to set up. I always manage to get glue in my eyelashes, and I don't even know how. After 20 years, you would have figured that I would have figured this out by now, but not. All right. I'm just going to, again, adhere from the inside out and kind of roll outward a little bit. And that's good. And it's okay because we put some extra glue around the edge there. It's okay if it's sticky. Again, we're going to come back over with some more prosaide over the top of that, powder it, and then it won't be sticky at all when we're all done with this. All right. And this is the key to edges, guys, is just working in small sections at a time. Because if you try to glue the entire edge down all at once, it's not great. It's just, so stuff is going to dry on you. The edges might find their own way to get stuck down. It's not good. So just work in small sections at a time and don't rush it. And with the edges, I tend to not put adhesive on the prosthetic itself because I don't want the edges to get folded just in case. Now, here's where I would use my hair dryer, but the hair dryer is really obnoxious, so I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna wave at myself like a moron on the internet. So again, once that glue is gone clear on your side, now you can start from below and then kind of roll your way up. Yeah, Gormassa said that they use, what did you say, you use prosaide cream? Yeah, so there's a bunch of different ways to glue, or not glue, but to blend edges, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit more when we get there. But prosaide and powder is one, prosaide cream, which is just a thickened version of the prosaide adhesive, is another. Okay, so now I've got these edges glued from the corner of the nose all the way up around to the top, and now I'm going to start coming down here. All right. Somebody asked where they can get a LaRue mask, and the answer is I don't know. You'd have to look. And
there was one on Etsy not too long ago. I'm not too sure if it's still on there.
Yeah, I'm sure between Justin and Darren and Lair Sculptures, I'm sure somebody has one. At least I hope so. Yeah. Or you can make one. You can just take a mask and paint it black. I think it's more like a domino style mask with fabric hanging from the bottom down, which that's easy enough to make on your own too. All right. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to do this next section here. I can't wait to throw this bottle away. I'm just begging to be tossed in the trash. And again, make sure you're gluing the entire prosthetic down. So I'm going up underneath with my brush and feeling where it's already been glued down. And then I'm going to come down and out with the glue to make sure, again, that I have enough glue to go just beyond the edge of the prosthetic. Without actually, there we go. So this is the part that takes a long time, especially when you're looking at the skull crater. This is just...
Yeah, I'm about to apply the skull crater, and it's probably the easiest. Well, I think you would say it's the easiest part. I'd say the hardest part is a little tiny lip prosthetic to get on, really, and get in there. So it just falls in your mouth and you start chewing on it.
Yeah, I'd say the lip prosthetic. The problem with that is like you don't get to kind of glue it in the middle and do the edges and take your time. It's kind of like because they're so tiny, you kind of have to just put the glue on and then put the glue on the thing and then hope for the best.
Yeah.
Because it's either going to glue down well or you're going to jack it up, and there's no in between.
Yes, my makeup is based on the early 2000s Phantom makeup in the West End, yeah.
I would compliment you if I could see it.
Well, it's not as well, I wouldn't say it was as it looks okay-ish, maybe. Because you can't see me, I'll take many pictures and send them to you after this.
Yeah, I'm sure both of us are going to be taking all the pictures while we're in the makeup.
Something as well, like I tried last weekend the Broadway makeup, the left side, and I'll tell you something now, that is very fun to do. It's it was very fun to do that process compared to the West End like style left side makeup. It was completely different, you know. Like it's a bit more like old Victorian theatre makeup rather than like I always call it the West End version, like Chav's makeup, because it's like lots of like highlighted eyebrows and eyeshadow and stuff like that. So it's like a teenager in the UK's type of makeup, really, with all that highlighter and all that, you know, fun stuff. Well, not fun stuff, but
Yeah, it's interesting to see just the difference between the two productions. Oh, I need to glue this now before it. There we go. Okay, sorry, emergency. Yeah, it's fun to look at the two productions and just how different they actually are. Um, for just a makeup design perspective. So it's always kind of fun to compare. And they're both good. They're just, you know, they've, especially back then, I feel like kind of Broadway and the North American national tour had a very distinct style to it. I think I preferred the national tour over the Broadway one for a while. And then there's the West End that had, especially in the 2000s, of course, we've talked about this before.
yeah.
With silver eyeshadow, which is very iconic and very recognizable. All right. All right. So now how are you doing over there?
I'm about to apply the headpiece.
Okay. Is your face prosthetic glued down?
Yes,
Okay.
literally, it's very, very tight. Like my face is like one with the prosthetic now, and it's not moving at all.
That's
So it's really good.
good. We like that.
So glad for this prosaide. Thank you, Thank you so much for suggesting it to me. My goodness, yeah, I've been lost without it.
Isn't it just like so much better? It's not even in the same conversation as Spirit Gum. It's just that much better.
Fantastic stuff, literally. Well, yeah,
good. Spread the good word of prosaide.
Oh yes, yeah. Make its own fan page. Yeah.
Before you move on to the skull crater, let's just do one thing real quick. We're going to seal the edge of the face prosthetic.
Okay.
And when it comes to blending, again, there's a couple different ways of doing it. One, as Bormath has already said, you can use the prosaide cream, which, again, for most folks just starting out, that's just one more thing that we need to buy. Us makeup nerds like Gormathis and I, we have it. But for folks that are just trying this, I don't expect you to go out and buy prosaide cream. You can do a similar effect using prosaide itself. So now that the entire prosthetic is glued down, the edges are glued down, and it's all good to go, the edges still aren't blended yet. So this, we haven't even gotten to like the realism blending side. We've just gotten the damn thing glued down. So this is the part where we kind of work on the transition from prosthetic to skin. And the best of, you know, whatever we can do to kind of hide this transition, hopefully that comes up on camera.
Yeah.
You know, that would be better. I do actually have a little corner that I didn't glue down. How dare me? What? Pardon me. Not picking my nose. There's no dignity in makeup. You know, in case anybody is wondering, there's none whatsoever. You just gotta. Okay, there she goes. Yeah, she's down. All right. Take two. So now that we actually do have everything all the way glued down, what we're going to work on is the actual blending edge and sealing the edge.
Yeah.
So you're going to take your prosaide.
Okay.
And you can do it a couple different ways. If you have a makeup wedge, like these are non-latex makeup wedges. I'm just saying this to whoever's watching. You can take it and tear it. And it, ideally, if it tears correctly, it creates kind of that shape.
Okay.
And if you want to, you can put the prosaide onto that, pour that onto there, and then dab this around the edge. I'm almost out of prosaide, so I'm going to control it a little bit better and use a cotton bud. And ideally, I think I have, man, if you have disposable cups, like the little disposable cups to pour your adhesive in, that is ideal. I literally have mine sitting on my doorstep because I had to order more and they didn't get here until about 20 minutes ago, according to the notification on my phone. So those are sitting outside. So I'm dipping it into the bottle like a weirdo. But what I'm doing is going over the actual top of the edge and blending it kind of out into the skin a little bit. And we're going to let that just sit and get dried. And I'm going to do that in sections all the way around the prosthetic. Now, again, if you have prosaide cream, awesome, because you can apply that with a little metal makeup spatula, and that helps. And it kind of, I think you and I were talking about it before, Alex, about using liquid latex.
Yeah.
You can use liquid latex to blend and seal an edge. It requires, in my opinion, a little bit more.
It's very messy as well. Like last time I did use liquid latex, and it just was like a big blobby mess on my face. Like, you know, it's
yeah. The problem with liquid latex is it, like you said, it's messy and it kind of gets away from you very quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas the prosaide, this option it's very easy to control, and I think you get a better effect. For me, I think the key to the edge is not trying to bury it under more material. It's trying just to make a quick transition from this to this. And for me, I think less is more when it comes to makeup versus trying to just dump a ton of liquid latex on it. Like I heard somebody on YouTube suggest to me, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. That's not. I don't do that. But basically, just work your way around the edge of the prosthetic, making sure that you cover the top of that edge and into your skin a little bit.
Yeah,
Maybe
be
just
careful
blend
around
it lightly.
well, my goodness, I had a bit of a trouble the first time I did this, and they glued my eyelids together. So yeah, just be careful.
Oh yeah, the tricky bit around the eye is always like the worst. And like I said, I've been doing this forever. I almost always get prosaide in my eye, but like in my eyelashes, and my eyelashes stick together, and I hate it. And then I feel like selling all of my makeup kit because in that moment I just hate it so much.
Oh dear.
Yeah, don't worry. We're all human. All right. Now, if you have a big glob of prosthetic adhesive that you accidentally kind of put on there because the cotton bud is getting a little bit misshapen, you can just kind of wipe it away with the tip of your finger just to make sure everything is kind of smooth.
It's amazing how messy your hands are. You're wearing gloves. That was probably a better idea compared to
Yeah,
what I'm doing.
it makes it feel better. I only started wearing gloves maybe last year or the year before. It took me a while to figure that one out. But I love the gloves now because when it gets really disgusting, I just take them off and get a new set of gloves. All right. Speeding things up a little bit now. All right. So now we're going to let that just dry. And then once it's dry, we'll go in with the translucent setting powder and press it into. And that will help blend that edge down into the skin a lot better. All sticky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think that's a big reason why people don't like messing with the makeup too much is because it's fairly gross during the application side of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you get everything messy as well. Like all your bottles get dirty and everything just gets messy, and you kind of wreck your prosthetic at the same time as well when you're doing this. So it's like you can reuse them, but the first set I used, I kind of ruined around the edges, which is kind of sad really because I didn't like clean it afterwards. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I will say we'll have this discussion now since we're on that topic. Like, yes, you can reuse prosthetics. I had a pair of people like flat out arguing with me on YouTube about it a couple of months ago, and it was very funny. Yes, you can reuse prosthetics. It's just a question of should you. Now, for me, I think you can have one of two things. You can have a reusable prosthetic that is easy to clean and easy to reuse, or you can have a realistic, good blending edge, because you can't have both. So, like you said, when you've removed your prosthetic and tried to clean it, the edges just get so torn up and kind of, you know, they fold on themselves, and there's always some glue residue, and so now they're folded and glued down, and it's just trash. You know, what I've seen some people do is basically cut the blending edge off, which makes it easier to clean and reuse, but now you don't have any kind of blending edge. So, which makes it look fake, because now that looks like, you know, the skull crater, if I had done that to the skull crater, I have this like really straight line cut. It looks like I just shoved a pancake on the side of my head and called it good. So there's always a give and take with whether or not you reuse the prosthetic. So if people want to do that, that's fine. Just make sure you clean them very well afterward. Get all the glue residue off, the sweat, the skin oil. Hygiene-wise, I don't love it, because I know that all that stuff's on there, even if I clean it very well. So I don't love reusing prosthetics for that reason as well. But people do it. And it also, like, I think you and I both have the slush latex pieces, which are better for reusing.
Yes, yeah.
Because they're solid, right? So foam latex, theoretically you can reuse foam latex. That's even more daunting to me, because it is a foam, it's porous, it's going to suck up the adhesive, it's going to suck up the skin oil and sweat, and yeah, that's impossible to clean. So I highly, highly recommend not reusing a foam latex prosthetic for that reason. Pretty much, yeah, if you're going to reuse the prosthetic, make sure it's favorably, you know, the slush latex version. And the thing with foam is, foam can be very difficult to remove in one piece, because it just tends to glue itself down very, very well, and getting it back up is a hard thing to do intact. And so you imagine that a really good thin blending edge on a foam latex piece is almost always going to get completely destroyed after the first use. So
there's quite an interesting image of one of the Phantoms. I can't remember his name now. And he's just lying there, was covered in prosthetic makeup. I've forgotten the actor.
yeah, it's one of the European productions back in the day.
Yeah, it was just like covered in like all the prosthetics he's taken off. It was quite funny image.
Yep. Which you knew the makeup person had like planned that for the last couple of months, but saved oh ew. Yeah, they saved all of them, I'm sure. Okay, so now this is dry. Hopefully it's dry on your side as well.
Yeah, it's dry.
Awesome. Yeah. So now we're going to do, just take a little powder puff or a little cotton pad, whatever.
I'm so glad
or even your brush.
I'm glad I have many sponges for this. I've just bought loads today, so it's just a big line of sponges in front of me.
Yes, and that's the stuff too that can be pretty cheap, is just the sponges and this, like the little cotton pads. I just get these at the local supermarket.
Yeah.
Right, not expensive. All right, just take a little bit of powder on that and just start pressing it into where you put the prosaide. And again, just kind of work in sections around the prosthetic. Make sure you get plenty of powder into that glue.
Where was you when you first did this? I should have, you know what, I should have really contacted you the first time we did this, really. I didn't. It's so much better, my goodness, yeah. Yeah,
it's like I said, it's an art, but kind of once you trick to it, suddenly it feels a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
And this is just a little detail work. Again, you don't have to do this, but if you want something that looks remotely realistic, which to me, I think if you're going through the whole effort of doing the prosthetic makeup, then ideally you do it in a way that is remotely convincing. You know, this is a big key to it, is making sure the edges look like they're smooth into the skin. All right. I like to throw a little extra powder on the corner of the mouth here, just because as I'm moving at my mouth and jabbering along, that's going to come up and glue's going to come through, and like just a little extra powder just to kind of catch it in case that happens. All right. Okay, so now your edges are sealed.
Yeah.
And they're blended.
Yes.
You probably look crazy because I look crazy because it's just powder and grossness. If you got a brush, go ahead and just kind of start brushing the extra powder off.
Yeah.
And this might take a good minute to get all of it. Now, when you're doing this, because it's a slush latex piece, and you don't, Darren does beautiful blending edges, by the way.
Oh yes, I've noticed that. Yeah, I was like, oh.
He really does, but the problem is, like, slush latex is hard to get a really great invisible edge on it because it's just that material, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's just even more important to do this kind of sealing of the edge on a latex piece like this, just because it helps. Cool. All right, so you always kind of have like a little hue of powder. That's the stuff that's stuck into the glue. That's not coming up.
Yeah.
But what you can do from here, once you get the skull piece glued down, is go over it all, like when you're doing your coloring for the makeup and everything like that. That will help kind of cover over the powder and make it all look cohesive, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. So I would say I'm not up to much. If you want to go ahead and do the skull crate on your side, if you have any questions, let me know, and we'll kind of see who's in the chat.
So as for a general chat then, rather than just talking about makeup.
Yeah.
So when was your first experience on a Phantom? What got you into? How did you first learn about the show and all that jazz?
Yeah. So I first learned about it. I'm going to age myself here. So I was in the 5th grade. It was 1995, and our music teacher actually brought in the cassette tape. That should be your first clue. The cassette tape of Act 1, and we listened to it in class, and something clicked. And you probably know the feeling, like when you just I immediately love this thing. So I had to beg my friend whose sister had both cassette tapes, because for some reason we didn't listen to the entire show in class. I had to go beg her to borrow that tape so I could listen to the entire show. And from there I went out immediately and got the Gaston Leroux novel. I read Susan Kay at some point in the next year or two, and I didn't actually get to see the show until 2001 in Boston. So that was the first time I actually got to see it. So, but that's kind of my quick Phantom history, and from there I've seen it. I don't actually know how many times I've seen it. I stopped counting somewhere around 39 or 40, and that was a long time ago. So I'm guessing I'm somewhere in the 70s or 80s at this point. But yeah, when was your first experience with it?
I was in college, and we did a college production of it, very shortened down with just some of the main songs from the show in it, and I wasn't really interested in it apart from I saw the video of the 2004 film, and I didn't really think much of it at the time because I can't. Well, I used to be able to sing, but now I've kind of gone out to practice quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the title role.
Oh, wow.
And I wasn't really interested in it at all, actually, at the first time when I was in college. But then I came out of college, and several years later, I contacted yourself when the vacancy thing was coming around. And I just fell. I rewatched it actually came up on the TV, the 2004 film, and I kind of fell in love with it. And it kind of started me with the crazy buying lots of different fancy costumey bits from then, really. So I decided to go to London and see the show, which my first cast was David Shannon, Gina Beck, Simon Bailey, and some very fantastic people. Yeah. And I just, it was amazing. And I thought the stage show, because I didn't know anything about the stage show, I thought the stage show was going to be like the 2004 film. I don't know why, but And then I got there, and literally just the atmosphere was just something I've never experienced in theatre before, and that's how I got into it. And it's not like an ordinary experience at the theatre, because usually a curtain opens, and all the singing starts. But with Phantom, you're already in the theatre, like in the show itself, because it's waiting for it to start with the auction scene. So it's just like if you're a lover of sets and costumes, it's nothing like you've ever seen before. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that's why, the Brilliant Original has, and even again, the current London production is almost the Brilliant Original. So I'm going to talk about them like they're the same thing. It's just there's an atmosphere to it, right? Like, and it's
Yeah.
different than any other stage show that I've seen. Where I think the only one that maybe rivals it maybe is Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, because you're kind of in the theatre for that, because they're already like dancing on the stage when you're in the audience, really, where to start. So it's.
Yep. And I think that's for, the original Phantom show. I think it's important because immediately when you walk in, you kind of lose yourself in the story, right?
Yeah.
And it helps you believe what you're about to see, because it's pretty fantastical. But if you're already like been sitting there for half an hour, been looking at the set and just the dark aura of the entire theater, it helps a lot. So yeah. I'm gonna get the lip thing glued down.
Yeah, I really wish I put the headpiece on first. Yeah, it's gonna take a. It's a shame I don't have someone helping me, really, because if you have someone helping you, you can do all that. Like even putting the ball cap on yourself, even putting the rear part on, it's so hard. It really is.
It's really hard. And don't feel bad. Like for me, I glue all this down, but I don't know how it looks because I can't physically see it. So I kind of just, again, hope for the best with it. And if it looks like rubbish, oh well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but typically, you do a decent job of. I try to, pro tip. I try to paint the ball cap ahead of time. I get pre-colored ones, and so they're already kind of flesh tone.
Yes, yeah. That's what. For the first time I did it, I had to pre-paint it myself, and then which just took it such a long time. And the second time I did it, it just decided to disintegrate on me, and yeah, so it wasn't fun the second time around. But...
No, that's awful.
Yeah.
Especially when you put the effort into pre-painting it and it just decides to roll over and die immediately. Yeah. That is rough. All right, good enough. And I just did the panic move of just like throwing the lip at the glue.
Yeah, that's something like I did the first time as well. I didn't take my time doing it because I just wanted to get it all on my face. But unfortunately, it does look a right mess if you do that. If you really want to do it properly.
Yeah, it really does, and I think, again, it's helpful to kind of walk through it like this. So you can kind of see. It takes longer to do it this way, but the other thing is this will help it last longer. So you can go and do a bunch of content creation, photo shoots, go to a convention, and yeah, you're still gonna have to touch it up, but you won't have stuff like literally sloughing off of your face, which is helpful. But yeah, it took me a good while to learn kind of do this, and I had to kind of figure it out on my own. This is before YouTube really took off, and I had to read books like I was in the 1870s.
Books, what are they? Oh, goodness.
What? They're pages and you turn them.
Oh no.
Crazy.
It will never catch on.
Never catch on. Too much work. But kind of on the YouTube side, for anybody who's watching it now or watching this later, is it's a golden age of education when it comes to makeup stuff, because a lot of it is blending edges or gluing down prosthetics or using different type of paint palette. Whatever you want to learn, it's on YouTube, and it's not even on my website. Some of it is, but so much more already exists out there on YouTube from artists that are far more accomplished than I am. So it's a nice time to learn, as you can pretty much just put anything in the search engine and it comes back up. Well, thank you, MPS Phantom. They followed me on YouTube. Thank you. I'm just looking through and scrolling through on.
So what got you into what got you into the makeup side then, really? Because it's not something not a lot of people really think about when they do the Phantom cosplay thing. You know, they don't really think about going into doing the various different Phantom movies, book references, and musical. So what got you into that then? You know.
It's a good question. I think what it was initially, going way back now, I did the makeup one year for Halloween, and that was the first time I'd ever done anything. It wasn't a cosplay at that point. It was just a Halloween kind of fancy dress party thing that I just threw together. And I went and bought just what I thought would be a cool scarring kind of makeup called Ridiclodian. Gormastus, if you're in this chat, they're probably rolling around because Ridiclodian is also the devil's compound. And I used that completely inappropriately because there was no tutorial option. You know, the little jar of Ridiclodian came with like no instructions whatsoever. So I got lucky in that I didn't permanently scar myself. I could have, because that's a pretty nasty. It's a pretty nasty material if you use too much of it or use it inappropriately by basically spreading it out all over my face. Shouldn't have done that. Ridiclodian is meant to shrink the skin, so it's meant to do think the Joker smile scar, right?
Okay.
Right. If you were to paint a couple of layers of Ridiclodian and let it dry, it's going to pull the skin together and create an indented scar, just like the Joker scars. And the more layers you put on, the deeper the scar is going to be. So it's meant to be used in lines. It's not meant to be all over the face. So, my face was super irritated for the next couple of days. I did get all of it off, but it was, I think at that moment, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm curious now. And so then I started doing some reading and getting some special effects makeup books and trying to get educated on different materials. And by the time I did it again the following year, I switched to special effects gelatin, which is much nicer.
Yes.
And at that point, I think I was hooked for the makeup side of it. And it just happened to be nice that it's my favorite character from my favorite show, my favorite costume for that character, all that kind of neatly packaged itself into what would become a cosplay.
I've actually watched your how your progress has been as well. So you started off with an eBay suit or wherever you got your first suit from, and then you've gone into a masterpiece. So it just shows you how time and how long it takes to actually perfect something that you've always wanted to strive for. So you've done an amazing job and absolutely astonishing work you do to help the community, the fan base, and to also your own personal goals on your impression as well. So yeah, that's fantastic.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been fun. I think it was in that moment too. I started posting photos and stuff of what I was doing. This was back in 2006, 2007, and people were asking me questions, and it occurred to me nobody else knows what they're doing. So it's been fun. It's been fun to do kind of the journey. I've really fallen in love with special effects makeup. Gormastus, I'm intensely jealous because I would love to go to, the Stan Winston School, Thomas Savini School. I would love to go and do makeup school for real. But maybe after I retire from my real job, maybe I'll go do that. But there's so much that I don't know. And I would like to know. I'd like to do more with sculpting. I'd like to work with cold foam, hot foam. I'd like to work cast and silicon prosthetic. I would love to just dive into it completely, but I just don't have the time or the resources at the moment. So that's why I kind of stick with the Phantom stuff, because it's familiar. It's easy for me to do a couple times a year at most. And I'm glad too, because I think the more I do it, the more I can create content for people to kind of latch onto who also want to try this stuff that maybe don't have the opportunity to learn from other sources. So if I happen to bring anybody along with me for the ride and help them, I'm very, very happy to do so, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. So.
Yeah, like your website is absolutely amazing. It's packed full of just in-depth knowledge, and you know it is the go, like I said before, it is the go-to website to go to if you want to learn anything like this. My goodness, yeah. So like I think the first video I ever watched of yours was you're doing some sort of perfume commercial or something like that, and you was it tagged and you're just running around the stage, but you know it was absolutely amazing to watch. You know, like how that journey and process has come to 2024. You know, it's really good to see.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's gotta remember that was a tag commercial I did with my friends back in college. Wow, that was a long time ago. Yeah, it's been fun. Like and I've met just the most incredible people along the way. I think that's the real benefit of all this. It's not even the makeup; it's just all the cool people that I've met all over the world at this point by doing it. Get down there.
I know, yeah, I'm having a bit of that.
It's hard too because, like, when you get to the lip part, you have to glue it, but also wait for it to set. But also, you just want to throw powder at it immediately so you can talk again. Yeah, Gormaster's had a good point. You don't need a degree in makeup or anything to enjoy it. I'd say a lot of people, from what I've seen, a lot of people are self-taught to some degree. So it's I don't know.
It's quite funny, really, because the job that I have, it's a world away from anything like this.
Oh.
You know, it's completely completely the opposite, really, from this. But to actually do something like this, it's very abnormal, really, to do. You know, it's very strange waters, really. But it is very enjoyable. Well, it is when you get stressed out and start throwing things around like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun process to do because you watch yourself come from like the normal you to this, which is just insane, really, because it's an interesting transition to watch.
Isn't that fun? Like I do enjoy the makeup process. I prefer just forget it in my brain until I get to the very end and I'm all done and I'm in makeup and costume. But like it is a fun process. But I think that the real fun of it is like you get to transform yourself. You get to do all these different looks, and I just think that is so damn fun. And I don't share it much with kind of people in my real life. I dabble a little bit. It's funny that you brought up work because I know we have very similar career paths.
Yeah.
But even at work, occasionally, like we'll do like a mass casualty exercise kind of thing for first responders.
Yes. Yeah.
And I will usually get notified like 12 hours ahead of time.
Doing all the
like, oh yeah, we forgot you did makeup. So can you come and do makeup? And I'm like, sure. When is it? They're like, oh, it's 8 a.m. tomorrow. I'm like, sure. So I get to dabble a little bit, and that's fun. I wish I could do that more. I also wish I could convince them to let me buy things that actually work better than what they provide, because it's usually just a giant stack of like nose and star wax and liquid latex and endless amounts of spirit gum, maybe a bruise wheel, and like a gallon of fake blood. Like I could do so much more if you let me just buy your supplies for you. Just
It's funny when you go into like the one I was at recently, my most recent casualty simulation. There was just a bit of Play-Doh on someone's arm with a ice cream stick just snapped in half, and it's meant to represent a broken bone. I was just like, oh my goodness, what is this? This is this is meant to be realistic, and it's just a piece of ice cream sticking up someone's arm. It's just, oh my goodness. So that's a broken arm. Okay, right.
Yeah. because I would imagine it's probably, as a medical professional, it's much more, valuable if you have a realistic looking wound, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like this is a broken arm, or this is a laceration, this is a chemical burn, or you can make them very specific to the actual stimulation if you give people the resources and the time to do it. But again, I feel like our employers are the exact same, and that would never happen because that makes sense, and we don't do that.
No, of course.
But it is fun though. If you ever find like you kind of end up liking the makeup process, that can be kind of a fun way to do some of it on somebody else's dime. And it's kind of fun, I think, for me when I read the casualty card to say, okay,
yes.
I've got to do X, Y, Z, and I have these 3 very basic supplies. How can I make this work? It's kind of a challenge. It's a little bit of fun. It's mostly frustrating, but it can be fun. All right. My stuff is good. I just need to start coloring all this and get it back to where it needs to be.
I need to color this a little bit because the color of the makeup is completely different to the foundation, the cream paint that I've used. So it's like this looks completely out of character, really, compared to, because it's very, very pale. But my skin tone that I've tried to keep it to is quite, it's darker than that. So I'm going to try and blend it, try and make it that color something in a minute. So.
And that's kind of the artsy side of it too, and that also again takes a lot of practice because you need to work with different. If you're working with cream, that applies differently than alcohol activated, which applies differently than water-based makeup, which depending on what you prefer. And there's no right or wrong answer. We know what they use in the show. At least on Broadway, it was cream makeup for the good side, and usually either water-based or it usually was rubber mass grease paint on the latex prosthetics, but that was ages ago now, I feel like. Louise asked a really good question. Louise always has the best questions. She's so good. She asked if either of us have seen the show Glow Up, and if so, what do you think of their attitude toward prosthetics?
Have you seen the show Glow Up? Well, I do not know the terminology of Glow Up. You'll have to explain to me.
So I have seen it. It's a show, I want to say it's on BBC. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was on ITV. I don't know. I did see it over in the UK before I left, and it's basically a makeup show, and it's kind of like, it's a reality competition. They have a bunch of makeup artists, and they have to go through a bunch of these different challenges and everything, and they kind of get eliminated along the way. And the winner wins something, I guess. And usually I watch a couple of seasons, and it's mostly beauty makeup and kind of like glam makeup, but they almost always have one episode each season on special effects and prosthetics. And I'd say, Louise, to answer the question, from what I've seen, prosthetics is very much a secondary thing, kind of like an afterthought on that show. It's very beauty focused, and it's very, some of the looks are very avant-garde that they do. So it's very kind of in that fashion realm. And I think they do the prosthetics just to say that they've done them. And if I'm being honest, some have not been great. Like, I don't consider myself a professional. I'm 99% sure I could apply a prosthetic better than some of the contestants on there. Some of them are actually very talented and have done special effects, and they know how prosthetics work, and have turned out really beautiful makeups. But I think it's a mixed bag on the contestants themselves. So if anybody watching this now or later is curious about really great makeup, like special effects makeup, prosthetics, that kind of stuff, there's a show, it aired over here in the US for years. It's called Face Off, and it's on most of the streaming platforms. And if you watch it, they have like 12 or 13 seasons. By no means do you have to watch all of those, but it's all special effects artists, and they all have to do these big creature makeups, facial sculpts, cowls, fabrication for like the costume. It's really involved, and just think like any big movie makeup you think of, like Alien or Predator, like that kind of big stuff like that. It's that kind of special effects, and it's really impressive, and it's just fun to watch. So I love Face Off.
Yeah, we don't have the joy of those type of shows in the UK, sadly, but yeah.
Yeah, if you're it's somewhere on streaming if you're ever curious. But again, for anybody that's watching this that wants to learn more and kind of see some of the behind the scenes stuff with the sculpting and the casting and the different types of, silicone prosthetics, foam latex, gelatin, that kind of stuff, they use all of it. So it's very, very, very fun. Question from the chat: have either of us seen the 2024-2025 West End cast yet? Have you been down to town to see the show lately?
No. The last time I saw the show was before it closed, actually.
Oh, man.
But I was planning to go on my birthday, but sadly, I was also meant to be going to West End Live on my birthday. Not West End Live, Musical Con, and then all that was cancelled by work because obviously work are very strange, lovely people, and so I haven't had the chance to go to London and see the show yet, sadly. But my last cast was, oh my god, it was either David Thaxton or Tim Howard. I can't, and that was the last time I saw it. So
I had a few friends that went over to see Tim when he was in the role, and they loved him. I never got to see him, but I remember just them raving about him.
Question once about Tim because he had a very interesting wig, didn't he? But
I'm sure I remember having a heart attack about that wig, but again, hey, people can do different things in the show, and it's okay.
Well, literally, welcome to Hungarian production.
Literally, that is what I'm like. I'm getting strong Hungarian vibes from this, and I don't know if I like it. But I think especially with it just being the West End production, and that is the OG production. I hate when people mess with it. But yeah, I haven't seen the 2024, 25 cast. I saw the 2023, 2024 cast. So John Robbins a bunch and that crew before they all left. And so I haven't seen Dean, but I am, fingers crossed, hopefully coming back, at least for MusicaCon in the autumn. And if I get lucky, maybe a quick trip in the summer, we'll see. But I intend to see Dean and whoever else is there whenever I get over there. I've heard some pretty good things about Dean, too, so. Yeah, to answer the question in the chat, yeah, Tim had that long hair wig going on, which was different for some of us. that was a tough one to look at, but
it made Tumblr explode anyway.
It really did. I think it made all of the fans' minds just go crazy. So, and he kept that look. I mean, when he went and did the Greek production, I think he kept the long hair wig as well. Although that's a non-replica, so whatever goes on those. Gord Masters is bringing the truth. Tim had a mullet, to be honest. LOL. Yep, that's accurate. That's 100% accurate. It was a part of.
I saw that West End Live, the video. I was thinking, my goodness, what is going on here? But if maybe it's a difference is a good thing. Maybe sometimes I don't know. Well, we'll leave Tumblr to deal with that one. But
yeah, it's all relative. We all have preferences, and I'm sure that made a lot of people very happy, and some people not so much. But it is what it is. I thought, honestly, when I saw the West End Live that year, I thought it was they had some issue with the other wig, and they grabbed whatever was available, or maybe a new wig, but they hadn't had a chance to cut it and style it yet. I'm like, that's crazy. And then I realized it was on purpose. I'm like, oh, okay, less crazy, I guess. Never mind. All right. I need to find a way to replicate this craziness. How are you doing over there? I just have a giant black screen.
I am kind of, well, I'm not done to your extent, but I am done to a extent. But
Good.
I have everything on. It's just that is literally it. Just the blending side of it, really, and then just trying to get the color to match the prosthetic color, really. Actually, I could just blend. I could just get the foundation to go on top of the skin part of the prosthetic. Actually,
Hmm.
get blending. Actually, that's probably a better idea to do than me completely redoing all of my face again. So, where is a whiter foundation cream paint gone? Hmm. It's somewhere. Also, as well, for the second wig that we don't get to see until Act 2,
Yep.
what is yours a wig or is yours just some stuck-on crepe hair?
So mine's actually a wig. I'm just reaching back to grab it. So it is. It's a partial wig, if you will. So it's done up on wig lace, which is the very strong, thin material that they use to build wigs on, or the front part of wigs in some cases. So it's just wig lace, and it's literally tied together with, I have two separate sides of it. I have this section of wig lace, I have this section. They're actually married up to one another by tying hair into them. So it's very translucent. And the nice part about this is once I put it on, I don't have to worry about it so much, and the hair is not going anywhere. But I have done the crepe hair routine a couple times as well, which that usually involves some degree of shedding, typically.
Yeah, because I've never done anything like that before. And when I did it the first time, I applied it with something that decided to make the ball cap just fall to bits, really, and then it I just started sticking the hair onto my natural hair, which kind of looked really bad, but yeah, it wasn't very good.
Yeah, like crepe hair or any hair. I've done that routine with just the spare kind of loose bits that I've had from making a bunch of wigs, right? And it didn't grab great, so I feel like I lost about half of it just in moving around. And poor Ben, when I did Ben's makeup a couple years ago, Ms. Gone, we didn't have the wig then, so I had to do the crepe hair. Not even crepe hair; it was just normal hair glued in onto the cap.
Oh, that would look fantastic. Yeah, I was looking at the pictures that I've got. It looks amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, he wore it well. He really did. But the problem was because he was constantly taking the wig off and showing people the full look. Every time you do that, like more hair would fall off. So we had to come up, I think, right before we went to the show. We had to glue a bunch more hair on because pretty much everything I had glued on there had somehow shedded itself. So it's not a perfect technique by any means, but you do what you can.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go in with some of my palettes here and start painting this craziness, which I'm running out of light now because all my light batteries ran out. Um, so for those that don't know, I'm doing the Las Vegas paint scheme, which is wild and crazy, and it's going to take a lot of me just messing around. All right, I had one question from the chat about the Phantom of the Opera show on Disney Plus that's coming out. I haven't heard of that.
No. So I'm sure someone said it was the same producers as High School Musical. Is that true? Maybe it's
Is it? Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm all up for creative design on things. Like, I didn't really expect myself to like. I've only seen very small snippets of the Uganda. Was it Uganda production? And
Yep.
that was like
Yep.
set in the modern day, and I thought that was amazing.
Yes.
It's really well done.
I'm just glad they got to do it. I'm like, that's awesome. We need more of it.
Yeah.
All over the world, and it looked like it was really well done. And yeah. Painted these. I think I'm overthinking the Vegas paint. really overthinking it.
It
I think
reminded me of like a bear attack, the Vegas production. Like someone just got the claw and gone
yeah,
right across the side. Yeah.
it's very, there's a method to the madness, and I know that, but at the same time, it just pretty much like, it's just, you like said, like that claw mark just goes all the way back. So now I need to remember which colors I used on the prosthetic and try to match that on my skin.
Did you ever get to meet any of the cast of Vegas production?
Oh yeah, yeah. So we went to go see. I was with one of the big time fans at the time we were dating, and we went probably 12 times out to Vegas. So we got to know the cast pretty well. We went out to that Fans Week convention type thing that they had that one year in 2009. When the show shut down in 2012, we decided to kind of recreate that, and we had this huge cosplay night 2 or 3 nights before they actually closed production. Kind of just to say thank you. So I made friends with a couple of members of the cast that I still talk to and still occasionally get to see and hang out with. But yeah, I think we saw it probably about a dozen times before it actually closed. It's a really incredible production.
Like that chandelier, my goodness, that
Oh man,
four stage chandelier is a massive thing, you know.
yeah.
In a chandelier fall quite like it, you know. Like it's a shame that obviously it's in a warehouse somewhere, the set, but will it ever be reshown? You just do not know. Well,
No, I mean, I hope they kept the set somewhere. Like you said, the chandelier, as far as I know, is still hanging in the Venetian Theater. I don't think they.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they just pulled it up and left it. And it would be. I mean, it would be nice to see it there again. It was such a. I don't know. I think it was great for the Vegas kind of aesthetic. You know, they'd obviously shrunken it down to a one act thing, which did kind of hurt the show a little bit, but not enough for you to hate it. But that's Vegas for you. People can't sit through 2 hour shows in Vegas.
No, of course.
They want them out gambling. But it was really incredible, and just again, the entire theater was custom built for that show. So that was the most immersive experience. And that chandelier, man, you see that chandelier once, and every chandelier effect forever ruined for you, because that is just, it fell real speed. And
I've only seen one video of it falling, but my goodness, wow,
it was, they really dropped it, and it really fell at the speed of gravity, and it was fast, and it fell straight on the audience. And I mean, there's probably like a million safety mechanisms built into it. So if one thing isn't remotely right, it won't go. But you would sit under the chandelier seats and buy them occasionally just to do it. And you kind of tell yourself, you're like, if something goes wrong tonight and I catch the chandelier in the teeth, I'm kind of fine with it.
Oh,
I'm fine with it.
Ultimate fan experience.
I mean, if you're going to go, right, you're going to go. Yeah. That's kind of the way to go.
Oh yeah, what is it? The Claude Rains special or whatever it is. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was a really special production. I hope that they someday kind of bring it back, and even if they only run it for a year or two or whatever recoups their investment, it would be nice to see it back one day in that theater.
Yes, yeah, my goodness, yeah, it was one of the most iconic productions from the. Well, it was obviously based on the original production, but wasn't it Maria Bjornsson, like one of the one who based the whole, like, came up with the idea of that? Or...
Yeah, I don't know if she had kind of come up with that before she passed away or not. It certainly was an original production based, so all the costumes, all the stage design was the same. They added a few things like there's no interval, so actually they redid it so the chandelier didn't fall after what would have been the end of Act 1. They moved it to where it fell in the movie, which is at the end of Point of No Return. There was no interval, and then before the masquerade scene, they had this big facade of the opera house come up from the floor, and that was new. But I think everything else was original design. So it was very cool.
That would have just been amazing to see. I guess shame,
Yeah, it was.
it's a shame when the UK. I'm not going to talk about this as well. When the Restage UK tour came around, that it was so like when I first saw it just after previews. I mean, it was awful. You know, it wasn't actually ready yet to be shown to the public because and they got rid of most of it as well now. Actually,
Did they?
when they went to they got rid of most of it, and then now in Germany it's completely changed. Well, not completely changed, but changed all the parts where people are complaining about it that much. You know, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think with a show that's been around as long as Phantom, you expect at some point things are going to change. We're going to do things differently.
Yeah.
New productions are going to be launched. Like that just has to happen after a while. It's just, I think some were done better than others. I think the UK tour was one of the better looking ones that I think I saw. It came over to North America for a bit, and it was just a hot mess over here. I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah.
Hot mess. But that's is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, Johnny the Brit. Excellent, thank you. So confirmed what I thought, which the Vegas chandelier did stay in the theater. They just anchored it together, so it's still there. And I remember them saying when they were closing it that the intent was to keep the chandelier where it was, which is good. Like a nice little nod to.
Was there a scene where the Phantom drops out the chandelier and starts swinging around in it, or was that just
Yep.
like, oh my
Yep.
God.
Yep. So that production employed a stuntman to. He would drop down. He was in a harness. He would drop down through the middle of the chandelier and just taunt people, hang from the chandelier, and just generally be a jerk. And then he would go back up through the chandelier, and at whatever point it would drop, and it would drop. But it was, yeah, God, that's Vegas, man. I was gonna say that's the most Vegas thing that's ever happened.
I've just done something that I've never done before. I've actually used makeup to go in the inner part of like the eye socket area, like with a bit of red, just to like define it. So it looks a bit more like a skull. Actually, it's kind of okay. I've never done that before.
That's awesome.
Bit of improv, you know.
Yep. Let me say, a lot of this is just kind of playing around and see what works. But yeah, like a lot of the makeup, whether it's stage makeup, effects makeup, it's a lot of optical illusion, right? So when you want to create the illusion of depth, like the eyes are sunken in, you want to go in there with not black, but kind of a brownish color, different tones of brown, and go in there and kind of just start under the eye, especially. Kind of done that on this side a little bit. And that can give that illusion of, like you said, it being more skull-like, more sunken in. And that doesn't even require prosthetic if you do the paint correctly. So, yeah.
I did speak to the resident Phantom makeup artist before it closed, Tanya Nor. I contacted her, saying, how can you? Because I was only interested in the left side at one point. How could you help me do this?
Right.
And she was absolutely fantastic. She gave me an entire list of all of the products that you needed to do the one that I was going for, the early London, early 2000s makeup.
Very nice.
But then I went on to the website of Crayolan, and when you see like a single brush, not a single pencil for like £30, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to buy these. I'll just go to the local shop and just buy like one for like £1 or £2, you know, rather than the actual. So because if you're only putting it on once, you don't need to like spend a ridiculous amount doing it. You know, you just have to make sure it kind of looks okay, really.
Yeah, a lot of it, again, we're just a bunch of amateurs playing around. We can get away with just using paint brushes, honestly. Like for a while I was using just dollar store, you know, cheap paintbrushes. And I will say, if people really want a good application, natural fiber brushes are better than the synthetic stuff that you buy at like the dollar store. But you don't need to get crazy with any of this. It doesn't need to be that expensive. So yeah, I bet there was some sticker shock to all the Krylon stuff. Krylon's a big deal in the industry, and rightfully so. I have some of their stuff, and it's great. They are my favorite by far. But you do makeup on any level long enough, you kind of get to where you prefer certain brands for certain things over others. I think Krylon for me happens to be my favorite, just because a lot of the stuff that I use from them is just really good. Right. Now I need to be creative with a paint job, and this is something that I don't do very often. I normally follow a very strict regimen of paint, but now I'm trying to like replicate what Ron did in Vegas.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the picture of you two. It's funny you say that because there's actually a picture of you two on the on your website right now. So
yep, he's. I lost touch with him maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but he phenomenal human being, and was like inviting me back to like watch the makeup removal and stuff. It was like chatting me up about, and I'm like, he didn't have to do that, but I think you find, like, your person on the West End, like you find people are willing to talk about this stuff on occasion, and it's so helpful. What did you do there, Rob? You did a lot of like striping in around the eye, and then down here. All right. Well, we got any questions or comments in the chat? Johnny, the great comment that at one point Ron was putting green on Tony's eye. That sounds like Ron. Ron Wild he's such a good makeup artist, and I think the cool thing about the Vegas production, the paint job, is that it's so different than anything that had been seen before in the production, and it was wildly, like, just very, very, very different, and in a good way, I think.
Yeah.
But people get confused because they think that the prosthetic was also crazy different, and it wasn't. This is a Crawford prosthetic. It wasn't exactly the Crawford prosthetic, but it was very close to this, and probably just if you softened some of these sculpts a little bit, just kind of made them a little less obvious, a little softer in the sculpt.
Yeah.
Same thing, but same overall design of skull crater, same overall design with kind of these pulled up things around the lip and everything. The lip came down to about here. Very similar design to the original Crawford, but painted completely differently. And it gave a very different and overall very cool effect. But yeah, Ron went for it, and I'm glad that they let him, because I think he created something that was very, very cool and very unique.
Oh yes, yeah, definitely unique. Yeah, I've never seen anything like that before. Yeah, like the I can't remember which one it was now. The international tour, and also Australia had a really good one as well.
Yeah,
They used for that.
Yeah, I really want to see. I need for Jonathan Rocksmith to show us the prosthetic at some point because I think they've got a
I
really
do have a photograph of it. Yeah, the it's very current London, but it's
is it
very highlighted with white, and
okay.
it's very scully. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, it looks really cool and the way that they've done it. And I know they've got like he has kind of like the infection take on it, so
Yes.
he's got very infection kind of mottling around the ear, and it peeks out from behind the mask. And I'm like, oh, that is so cool. I gotta know more. So
Someone did upload a video of it on, not YouTube, but the Chinese version of YouTube, BB or something like that. I can't remember what
okay,
it's called. And unfortunately, the videos were deleted, but I did take some screenshots. Yeah, so it's a
that
shame.
is immensely helpful.
It's a shame they can't use fire in the Chinese theatres as well, because during the Wandering Child scene, they're just shooting like gas at it, like air, like air.
Oh, are they okay?
Uh,
Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't aware they're not using any fire in that production, but I haven't seen any Chinese bootlegs either.
how long does all this take to get off at the end of the day? Carefully.
Thankfully, yeah, carefully. I think for me to get it all off, it's about 20 minutes. It's not bad, and it just kind of depends on. I think for me, the the slush latex, which is what we have today, these types of prosthetics, they come off easier than like foam latex because again, that foam really absorbs all of the glue. And this is as soon as I get it kind of worked up and I start putting the remover in, it comes off pretty fairly quickly. Again, 20 to 25 minutes. Um, but when I did my Charles dance from the other day, that took me almost 40 something minutes to take off because it was not going anywhere. And that was just because it was foam, I think.
What what I did the first time I take it off, I just got the back of the ball cap and ripped. Well, that was a, don't do this, guys. Don't get the back of the
Yeah,
ball cap and do what I did and just rip the whole thing off because
yeah,
unfortunately you lose your eyebrows, you lose your hair, and you'll probably end up in some sort of a casualty room somewhere because there is this
absolutely.
stuff for a reason, the makeup remover. So
Yep.
yeah, the spirit, well, not spirit gum remover, but the remover. Just yeah, use that instead. Don't do what I did and end up nearly bald. Yeah, look like a
Yeah.
psychopath.
I'm glad you said that because I feel like it's a trend on Instagram for some reason, especially like
Yeah, just ripping
with
it
Halloween
off.
and even with Christmas, people are doing like Grinch makeup and all that crap. Um,
Yeah.
it seems like everybody they love the removal video where they grab it from the back and they just start
Yes.
peeling things off, and they are clearly not using any remover. And I'm just like, you deserve everything that you're about to get. like,
Yeah.
uh, I hate that they're doing that because I think it encourages people to, you know,
Yeah. Like this stuff is like obviously it's a medical adhesive we're using as
yep,
well. So
yep,
it is literally like pulling off scabs, or even worse actually at some times. So if I just rip this off now, I would be in a lot of pain. There's a video that I've actually taken a video of me that I did put on Instagram of me ripping this off, and I actually muted it with the music of the show, and the
hmm
unmuted version has a lot of swearing in it. Yeah, it's not good.
yeah. It's man, it drives me nuts every time I see people doing that. Just because it's one thing like if you don't know, but these are makeup artists, and they know way better than to do that. It pains me because somebody who doesn't know better is going to do that, thinking that that's okay, and they're going to hurt themselves.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, if you take one thing away from all this, if you're doing the makeup at any point in the future, please use a makeup remover. All right, and adhesive remover. That's it's a must.
Yeah, definitely. My goodness.
Yeah.
Like if anyone wants to try and do the bald cap, there is actually a kit that I first bought, which is by is that how you pronounce it? Probably Miharon,
Uh,
Maharon.
I've heard it. I say Mayron.
Mayron. Yeah, they do a lovely ball cap kit. It's about 30, well, in the UK it's about £30, and it's got
Okay.
everything in there. Little tutorial kit thing in there. It's got all of everything you need. But the only thing it doesn't have in this prosaide
Mm-hmm.
is it has that spirit gum. It's just sad that you can't see me, but that's what it's got in there. But it's really good. But yeah, it does take a long time to get a ball cap on as well.
It does. Yeah, the ball cap again. Like you said, it's very tricky when it's just you trying to do it. It's hard. All right. Texas Opera Ghost is here. Hello and welcome. Thank you. Appreciate he complimented both of us on our creepy looking makeups. All right, this is getting there. This is really hard.
What would you use? Because I've only got crepe hair, sadly. What would you use to stick that onto the ball cap then?
So you've got some options. Prosthetic adhesive is going to work just fine. So same thing, kind of put a thin layer on there in a small area, like a small cluster, right? Let that dry. And then if you take the, I don't have any hair handy, but take the hair and you can either use the end of your makeup brush or like a popsicle stick or tongue depressor, lay the hair into the glue and kind of press it in to make sure it sticks.
Okay.
And then very gently pull the hair, because there's going to always be some hair that doesn't grab on.
Yeah.
Pull the loose hair out very gently. And if you do that in a couple of different patches around the back, that'll get the desired effect. The other option is, again, spirit gum is actually pretty good for that. The trick with spirit gum, though, is you apply the pack of spirit gum. Unlike prosaide, where you just sit there and let it set up by itself, you have to actually tap the spirit gum to get it tacky.
Okay.
And once it's tacky, then you can put the hair into the spirit gum. Same way, kind of just lay the hair in there, press it down with the end of your brush, and pull out very gently any loose hair that didn't grab on. That's fairly standard way of doing it. Don't put a lot of hair into it, only have a couple of wisps at a time, because one, that's kind of the look of the phantom. You don't want like a big old glop of thick hair. But also, if you put only a few hairs at a time in, that'll also help them all grab onto the glue. Where I've seen some people, like, they just throw a ton of hair in there and then they pull out 99% of it because it didn't latch onto the glue. So, yeah, so that's a good way to do it. All right.
So what would you prefer the Phantom to wear then? Would you prefer him to have the contact lens in or out? Because a lot of actors don't wear it, do they really?
Yeah, a lot don't. I like the contact lens, man, especially since I started wearing one. I think it really heightens the effect of all of this. So I'm a pretty big fan of the contact lens. I get why they stopped wearing it. I don't think contact lens technology was really great in the 80s when Michael Crawford started doing it. You know, the old stories of him basically having to be led around backstage because he couldn't see.
No.
And, you know, the blind contact especially, I don't know how they used to do it back then, but today they're like a mesh that you can see through. So I'm guessing his didn't have the mesh. It was just solid nothing that he could see. Yeah, I mean, especially I think today the technology is a lot better. I'd like to see more people doing the contact lens, but also I get why they don't, because contact lenses are annoying.
Yeah, like I've recently bought one to try and replicate the one that John Rocksmith wears, but I've never put one in before. So, any advice for anyone who wants to put contact lenses in?
Yeah, I'll go on a little bit of a tangent if you don't mind, because I wear contact lenses every day, and then I have terrible eyesight,
Yeah.
and I rely on contact lenses to get really anything done. So I've been using those for decades now, and there's a sharp learning curve to putting them in and taking them out. So my first rant is, number one, I highly encourage people to go to their eye doctor and get fitted for one. I know you don't have to do that, but again, like I have creative stigmatism, so my eyes are not shaped normally, which affects my vision. But that also means that a standard contact lens off the internet is not going to fit my eye. So it's hard to know unless you go to your optometrist, you have a prescription that says, okay, the lens needs to be this shape and this diameter and everything like that. It's hard to know if any old lens off the internet is actually going to fit your eye or not. And if it doesn't, maybe nothing happens.
Oh.
Maybe you end up scratching something or just irritating the hell out of it for a couple hours. So,
yeah.
yeah, I think my safety rant is more like, just go to the doctor, go to the optometrist, just have an appointment and say, hey, I would like to do this. It's not unheard of anymore. People do fancy dress stuff all the time that involve contact lenses. So I promise you, it wouldn't be the first time that they hear somebody like wanting to do this. And that's, for me, that's the safest way to do it. In terms of actually putting it in, ideally, once you've, again, seen your doctor and you have a lens that definitely fits you, I like to go up with one hand, pull the lid up here, and I have the contact lens on, usually like my middle finger. Slide this, or actually no, my index finger, I slide that down, and then I slide the contact in. It's a really freaky experience when you first do it. It means nothing to me now because I do it every day. But I can't describe it other than it's going to freak you out the first couple of times.
That is literally a horror story, like, because I'm going to do that when this ends, and I don't know about it. I might just go Photoshop, but we'll see what happens. You know. Oh my goodness, yeah, that's.
You kind of just have to do it and get over it. Because it's very survival instinct, kind of. It's almost like you don't want to throw stuff in your eye because you know that's not a good thing to do, and your body's like, no. So, but yeah, I can't emphasize enough, as much as people can, if they have the ability to go and get one fitted. That is preferable to me, just because I know if it goes wrong, it's just, to me, it's just a little bit safer, because eyesight is, it's one of those things that we care very, very, very much about. Yeah, and Texas Opera had a good point. Like, editing is enough for me, and honestly, for me, lately, as soon as I found, I think the Polish app is the one that I use. It has a really great, face feature where you can choose different eye colors, and it's pretty realistic. I'll give them credit for a free app. It's actually pretty good. So there's one on there. It's not quite like a blind lens, but it's lighter colored. And if you need a lighter colored effect, that one's pretty good. I did actually, on the day of my photo shoot in London earlier this year, I did actually forget the contact lens at the hotel room. So all of those ones from the photo shoot are edited because
But
didn't have the editing.
Well, that photo shoot, everyone, my goodness, it is amazing. Like, God, if you haven't seen it yet, God, you can look at Fancy on the Budget's pictures. Goodness gracious me, that's amazing.
That was the most fun, and the way that everything came out, I was a little bit skeptical because I feel like the shooting initially, it felt like a little bit rushed, but it didn't matter as it came out beautifully. Like, it just, man, like, they are magicians, and they didn't even really do anything with it. It was just the way that he set the camera up. He clearly knew what he was doing, and money well spent. So if you guys are ever, it doesn't even need to be the studio that I use because they're fairly pricey, but if you have somebody that's talented with a camera or a local photographer, man, definitely get your stuff shot professionally because my goodness,
Yeah.
it is so cool. It is so cool.
Like as for myself, everything I do is either is either filmed is either filmed or taken in my bathroom. So
Yeah.
it's all everything I do is on my iPhone. So it's not like the best thing, but thank God for editing software, really.
Oh yeah. It's
Like I don't actually do my own editing either. I've actually got someone doing it for me because I'm not very good at doing anything like that. I'm not very tech savvy, as it were. So it's good to get someone to help you out.
yeah, it's nice too. Like it, I mean, the editing software these days is so good, and even on the free apps, it's excellent. And you can probably do a lot with an iPhone and a decent photo editing software app. Um, that people would have had to have a professional studio do 10, 12 years ago. Like, it's pretty nuts. Pretty nuts. This is the part of the makeup that I'm freaking out about. Like, just indiscriminately, like, just doing.
When I was in the high school production, or college production, the prosthetic that we used was that I don't know if you remember. It was a while back, and it was like the Gerard Butler version. Do you remember it? It was like
It's bringing up memories, so I think I might.
yeah, it was just like some random Gerard Butler version that didn't look anything like it. Just looked like a burn on the face. Yeah, it was that version of prosthetic we used, but yeah, it did okay for the job it did. I think maybe.
Yeah. I think I love watching schools give that a try. So I think it's.
Oh, some
I don't know.
I found amazing. My
Yeah,
goodness, yeah.
yeah. I mean, some of them are incredible, and I just like seeing people try makeup. Like, yeah, I just the more people have the option to give it a shot, I'm like, I just want to see more people doing it. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, that's also perfectly fine. But just to see, and the fact that schools are doing this, and I think a lot of them are doing it quite well.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you remember. I remember when the rights were first released for amateur productions and school productions, and there was like people were convinced the world was going to end. It's like the end of Phantom as we know it. Oh my god! Like it's probably going to be fine.
It was pretty much the same when they re-announced that Phantom was doing the North America tour as well. Everyone was freaking out. Oh, it's like I just don't understand it. Everyone wants it back, then they don't want it back. It doesn't make any sense really. It's just
you pick one. Like, do you want it or not?
Yeah, the comments on the playbill was just like stupid. Just.
Yeah, and I'll say this about Playbill. I think a lot of those. I think I read a lot of the same comments, and I think for folks that are really into Broadway, I think it's kind of fashionable to like not like Phantom.
Yeah.
And they kind of get that I'm just gonna like, why do we need this back? And nobody asked for this, and like actually a lot of people have asked for it, so lots of people want it back. There's that, but also I think I saw a lot of this kind of this general hatred, and like it didn't even make sense necessarily. It's just they wanted to complain and be seen complaining. So.
Oh yeah, a lot of keyboard warriors. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of them. I'm like, okay, well, you do your thing, I guess. Who knows?
I had quite a lot of gripe with the show when it closed in London. It's only because the way it was closed though. Because people like I had a friend in the show who was a dancer who was in the corps de ballet, and he had a contract with the show for 2 years, and he was actually fired on a Skype call on a Zoom call, basically saying. In a quite a horrible way, it's over, get your bags and leave type of thing on a Zoom call, and I didn't really like that because some of the people that were in the show was there for since the beginning really,
yeah,
and They could have stayed on, but they didn't, as because they all were fired, which is quite sad.
Very sad. I think the fact I understand why it happened. Again, it's theater's a business, and whether we like it or not, we as fans, whether we like it or not, at the end of the day, it's about making money. And Cameron McIntosh thought he could make more money by terminating everybody's contract and starting with fresh contract. And I'm sure he is making more money. So, but that said, like it's not a normal West End show. It's Phantom. It's one of two long-running shows where that's people's livelihoods. Like they had been there for a very long time.
Yeah.
And to just sack them is kind of like, again, I get it. I don't need anybody to explain economics to me, but it doesn't suck any less for the people that are going through it.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, and that said, like I do understand how it was done. I was talking to some folks over there at one point, and we were kind of talking about that. And I remember I was totally outraged, and it's like I'm still outraged about it, but at the same time, like I understand now why they did it the way that they did it, because there kind of wasn't a lot of other options. Everything was still in lockdown. Doesn't
But
make it.
so we still have the show, which it could have easily closed down. You know, it's very high maintenance and costly show to run. Like it's not. Like obviously they have to cut the costs in places, but you know the show is still there. You know, so thank God for that. Really.
And I think it's still there because of all those changes. If I'm being completely honest, I think that's why Broadway went away. It's I think it's the original production and the overhead that they had with that production. I think was just too much for a struggling theater industry coming out of COVID.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So it sucks, but at least, and now it's coming back, and it'll eventually be back in North America, and I think it'll eventually be back on Broadway as well for a long-term stay. But kind of, again, it goes back to economics. But yeah, I remember like hearing everything about, the firing on the Zoom call and everything like that, and a lot of people were really outraged by it. And I remember I was saying, like, I'm never seeing the show on the West End, and because of that. But again, having been through managing large numbers of people during COVID, I also understand, like, I don't know how else you're supposed to do that. Unfortunately, like, it sucks.
Yeah.
It sounds so inhumane, but I mean, how do you tell a large number of people without bringing them together, because you can't bring them together? Yeah, that sucked all the way around. And on Broadway too, I remember they did an article about some of the musicians in the orchestra had been there all 35 years.
Yes, that is some commitment, that. Yes, my goodness.
Yeah. And just imagine, like, I'm sure theater and music, or, all of it is just very kind of month to month in some cases. And to have a nice long running contract like that is just enjoyable, I'm sure. All right. That's giving me Vegas vibes, right?
That is the best.
Oh.
Yeah, that is amazing.
All right.
Like I just looked at my screen, then I was like, oh my goodness, absolutely fantastic. My goodness.
All right, it's the first attempt. I'm getting a little bit impatient at this point, but I'm getting there. Did he do the ear?
I went on a backstage tour of the restaged production with the completely different makeup that no one's ever seen before. This big one-piece prosthetic thing that they have in Love Never Dies, and and it was interesting, really, because it told us how the actors came across with the makeup as well. Like there was a time once this John Owen Jones was very late for coming into the show, so they could only get his wig on, and there was absolutely no prosthetic at all. on him
Yep.
during Act 1. So, but with Earl Carpenter, what happened with him was he likes to do his own makeup. He likes to sit in the chair and like try and apply as much as he can and get the brush and whatever. Like some actors do that, you know.
Yeah.
It's really good. You know, it's good to see that, but some don't, obviously. But there's certain little backstage stories you hear. It's just really good to hear those things, you know.
It's nice when they kind of take an interest in it. I know Hugh Panaro was kind of the same way. He would kind of do the good side, and Thelma would do the everything else. I feel like I'm missing something. All right. The question of the day is: should I order food for dinner?
Yes, I believe you should. Yeah, because this has taken. Don't be making anything now. My goodness.
Yeah, I could really make the delivery driver's day, I'm sure.
Oh, hello. Yeah.
I like to have a little bit of fun. When I did my photo shoot in London, by the time I got back to the hotel and everything, it was late in the evening, and I'm like, I hadn't had dinner yet, so I thought I would order, food to the room as I do. But I'm looking at the time, and I'm like, I don't have time to get out of this before the food shows up.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just gonna stay in full Phantom mode, costume and everything. That poor waiter, he didn't get paid enough.
It's funnier that like no one in my workplace knows that I do this, but if they knew that I did this, oh my goodness, God, they would kill me. But yeah, it's amazing. Like we have like a hidden life away from what we do to do this. You know, it's quite a change really from the mundane thing that we do. There's quite a good escapism really as well.
It really is, and not getting the detail of what we do, but we do have similar careers, and it's nice, I think, to kind of get away from some of the heavy stuff that you see in there, and just kind of, like you said, it's escapism. Just getting away from that and doing something completely different, and I don't know, it's just fun. And you gotta find fun somewhere in this life, especially with the job that we have. It's yep.
And the zero, like everything you see that we do, people might think from an outside perspective like we live in this costume and we're in it every weekend and we're running around the house like going, way we're the fan, but we don't do that. It's not what we're trying to do. Like everything that we do is pre-done months ago. You know, it's not like oh, let's jump on TikTok and Instagram and take loads of photos. Like everything you see is like pre-done months ago, like weeks ago, or whatever. You know, it's not like
exactly
every time we're free, we jump in the makeup for. It's not about the likes. It's not about the views, and that's a very big thing. This actually, I would like to say, it's not about that. It's just about to promote like people's understanding of bettering, yourself really, rather than anything else, about how to be better than, but it's not a statement of, oh, look at me, I'm the best in the world, and because it's not about that and never will be.
I completely agree. Yeah.
So it's a bit of a statement that, but it's yeah, but
no, I think you bring up a really good point, especially about the way that people perceive it, right? And you do this once and you post it, and people think like that's all you ever do. And I think you and I are similar in that, like, we do this once or twice a year, maybe, and we kind of just save all the photos and kind of, over time, and it makes it look like we are in this every weekend.
Of course,
yeah. And it's like, no, man, I don't have the patience for it. Like, I'll do probably one more makeup after this and then put the kit away for another 4 or 5 months.
Like even like the basics of being in the suit as well. Like, I've been in that for like 10 minutes. You're sweating. You're really sweating. It's not fun to be in because it's not designed to be in for a very long time anyway. And it's especially with all this on. It's not a very fun experience. But yeah, so.
Yeah, you're completely right. Like, it's even the suit. It's there's a reason why people don't dress like that anymore. So
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
very good reason, and it's just because it's a lot. It's a lot. And I never feel like when I'm in the suit, I know you've got your new suit, and you probably very proud of it and don't want it ruined by food. And so whenever I'm in costume, I'm the same way. I'm not getting anywhere near food. I guess I'm just not going to eat for 12 hours because you don't want to mess it up.
Yeah,
It's a lot. Yeah, the things that we do for our hobby.
of course.
But all right, I'm just throwing on some last second touches here.
Like we do look completely worlds apart, really. But it's a shame we can't see each other, really. But you know, but
I know. I just
yeah,
Instagram.
it's a bit rubbish, to be honest with you, this bloody thing. But yeah,
It's Instagram doing its thing, I guess. But I can't wait to see it when you're done and get to post it.
yes,
If
of
anybody's
course.
watching this now and confused, it's because on my side I can only see my video. I can't see. I'm like, yeah.
Like for everyone watching, Phantom on a Budget over here has done the Las Vegas production, and I've done the very early 2000s production of London, the West End. So that's the contrast between the two different countries, really. So
Very
it's
different. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing yours, and I'll probably refer to
I'll
yours.
tell you something now. It's not as good, and I was panicking. I was rushing. I've got things everywhere. You know, not as organised at doing this, but it's an attempt anyway. So yeah, it's
and
something.
that's for what it's worth. That's kind of how I feel about this one. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done,
Yeah.
this version of it before, so I'm kind of just
like what Phantom of the Budget has done. This is what the makeup is like when you've done it for as long as you have. But I've only done this twice, so this is my third attempt. But this is probably the best attempt I've done it actually.
that's
But
good.
yeah,
Hell yeah. And
but yeah,
that's I think we touched on it earlier in the live, but like, a lot of it is just playing around with makeup. The more you actually get to play with it, the better it will eventually turn out to be. But it is a lot of just kind of messing around with stuff.
like in the show, like they have whittled the time down to how long it take to put the prosthetic on. Because the original time was what was the original time? They took like nearly.
It was about 2.5, 3 hours initially. Yeah.
And then now it's obviously a lot faster process. But when
Yep.
like an amateur like myself, it's taken me from about 7 o'clock and it's 10:30 at night now. So it's taken a very long time to do. But I'm not an artist. I haven't studied anything in art, doing anything with makeup at all. So it's all brand new to me, really. Because when I first originally did cosplay as the Phantom, I never actually did the makeup at all. It was only until March of this year that I started playing around with it. So it's all fresh and new. So if you ever want to do that, it's a very lengthy process to do. It takes a very long time to learn, and at the end of the day, you will one day look as good as Phantom on the Budget over here.
Making things up.
Literally, but
Thank you. No, I appreciate that.
No, seriously though, it is literally like looking at Anthony Crivello, should I say? So it's really good.
I'll take
Or Brent Barrett,
it.
the actors. So yeah, it's very, very amazing to see this.
I will take it. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm gonna tag Michael Lackey, who I'm still friends with, and it's actually his picture I'm working off of.
Oh yes.
As a reference. So I'm gonna tag Michael and just like, hey man, I don't know if you're still in touch with Ron, but if you are, please send this to him and see what he thinks. But I'm just gonna call that done.
I've gone with like a Jonathan Jonesy look.
Excellent.
Yeah. So you'll
very classic.
Yeah, the very early Jonathan Jones look, not the most recent stuff, but yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you, but I really loved the makeup in that era of London because I think at that point Broadway was doing I think it was in its purple era.
Okay.
It was just a lot of purple and white and black and just very like let's play to the last row in the balcony. Um, and I remember like London just had such a more natural and believable look Broadway at the time, and I'm just like, I just want London makeup on Broadway.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
just take that and move it.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do the other day. I was trying to do that like crazy, well, not crazy, but that enhanced lip look, and then
Mm-hmm.
all of the like the very enhanced theatrical makeup like Broadway has. So it was very fun to do, but I'll probably do it again at some point. But yeah, it was great.
It's funny too. Like when you don't do that on a regular basis, you almost feel like you're going too big with it and too
Yeah.
bold. Uh, but that was definitely the look back in the day, for sure. Okay.
I would read your comments, guys, but my vision is like an old man, so I can't really see it.
I got a very chatty group in here. That's awesome. I'm just gonna scroll back like an elder millennial and just see what we've got here. I was told somewhere like you shouldn't be scrolling backward during a live. I'm like, well, why wouldn't you? Like people are commenting and saying things. I need to know what they want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, Louise mentioned that Michael Crawford would stay in prosthetics and the whole makeup and give the crew hell. That sounds about right.
Mm.
Folks, being in cosplay and makeup and going out to eat with family, fish and chip shops. That's something that I would do.
I've only ever
Tailcoats are incredibly impractical to wear. Yeah, it's a very lively bunch.
I've only ever worn this to a Comic Con once, and that was in Manchester Comic Con. It was a long time ago now, and
Yep. I think I remember that.
I just wanted to rip it all off me. It's not really fun at a Comic Cons because it's so hot, and wearing a mask for a long period of time, it like pools full of sweat in the nose area, and it's just dripping all over the place. It's not that fun really, but it's very iconic though, and you get a lot of people interested in wearing it. So
Yep. Yeah, it's a lot. Especially like over the long day of a con when you're probably in it a good 10, 12 hours. It's a lot. A great
I
comment.
can't read the comments at all. I'm sorry, I just can't see them.
No, I'm looking at them now. So J West INC 993 said that Michael Lackey actually lives in their hometown. And I think I remember seeing his posts on that production in your hometown in Michigan. And yeah, he's the coolest, nicest, wonderful person in the world, and I adore him. Very, very thankful to have met like just the coolest people that you meet doing this. So yeah, so not Michael Crawford, Michael Lackey. And here's the thing about Michael Lackey, incredible Phantom. He was just an understudy in Vegas, but he had done the national tour for many years. He was very, very, very well studied as the Phantom. And when he went on, it was just fire. I know it was the Tony Crivello show in Vegas, but I loved every time either Michael went on or Ian went on. They had just the most incredible understudies in that production. It was just amazing. Yeah, and some general discussion about how conventions are always boiling hot and why they don't invest in more air conditioning.
Yeah, well, possible fans are needed, definitely.
Yeah. All right, let's throw some moves on. Because I'm just realizing I'm a very bad influence that this has still got a little bit of makeup on it from my photo shoot. Oops. That was a while ago.
Yeah. Something about the wig as well. Like, it took me such a long time to try and find a wig. Like, especially an okay looking one. Like, I know you make most of your wigs, but to just try and find a good stagey looking wig as well is just so hard.
It
But
is.
there are some great cheapish companies that do it online. So yeah, like the one I've got, it's actually that one that was made by what was it called? Wigs for Fashion, I think it was, and it was the actual Gerard Butler wig
Yep.
that they brought out not too long ago, and I've just cut it down to bits because it was so big. Like the thickness of it, oh, it was awful. But yeah.
Yeah, that came out really well. Then that was, I thought you bought that from Snowflake Time or whoever was doing it on
It was like
Instagram.
it's just like a cheapish wig that was under
Nice.
£100, and I just hacked it to bits. Really, that's it.
Yeah, that actually, you had me fooled. I thought it was a specially made like Broadway type of or West End style wig.
Thank you.
So good job. You probably did it much better. I hacked my Charles Dance one to death. Like I don't even want to show it to people. It's bad. It's bad in the back. But yeah, like the stage wig is so hard to replicate because it's that, you know, that super thin, slick back look, and that is very hard to do when it comes to like wigs because the hairline is completely exposed. You can't hide that. And I had somebody, I think, on my live the other day wants to do the phantom wig with like literally a $10 wig, and I haven't quite gotten back to them yet. But the answer basically is like you can't do that with a $10 wig and have it look good.
Yeah,
you can do it. It's just not going to look good. But yeah, that's a really hard wig to do. And it's nice that, you know, there are a couple producers. I know the Wig is Fashion site does it. Snowflake Heim, I don't even know if I'm saying her name right, but she produces phantom wigs, and it's just nice to know that now there are some options for people that are looking for a decent wig that don't have to actually make them, because I don't recommend making them. I'm glad that I did. So glad.
Yeah.
There it is, hanging out in the corner. But never again, dude. Never again.
Yeah, it was hard to hack one to bits as well, because you don't want to take too much off because it will actually ruin the wig. So it was just like, I don't know anything about hair either, especially when it comes to wigs. So there's a lot of oh no, I'm going to ruin this wig type of thing that was going on, you know, when I was doing that. So and also,
yeah, that's exactly.
It's amazing how masks for the fan base have developed over the years as well. Like when I started, it was just like some cheap pound mask, you know, that they only got. Yeah, so it's amazing. Like people have actually taken it into the stride to actually make these masks. You know, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I'd say the old phrase, kids these days have no idea how hard it was.
Yes, yeah, that's it.
But yeah, the options these days are just, there's so many, and they're good options too, and it's nice to see, because I think obviously the more people that do this hobby, I think the better. And now it's a little bit more accessible where you have some of these options. I love how I glued that on just now. But yeah, you have more options for cosplay that you didn't have before, really. So it's just nice to see. But I took way too much off my Charles Dance wig in the back, and I thought I'd also try to maybe take some of the wefts out, because the wefts are those little lines of hair that's sewn into them, and those are sewn into the wig cap.
Yes.
And shouldn't have done that. That was a big mistake. Yeah. I think in some wigs that really does work. In this wig, definitely not the case. It was definitely a mistake to take the wefts out, because I ended up with this large chunk of hair just completely missing. So that was a problem. Yeah, I mean, and I will say too, like Jaden made a comment that most characters can be cosplayed nowadays. Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. You know, you've got companies that are making different dresses from different characters, and
oh yeah, Etsy is amazing for it. If there's any
incredible
with the dresses off the show, my goodness, fantastic.
Yep. Just you got so many options as a cosplayer, and Phantom's the suit's relatively easy if you don't care too much about accuracy. But even now, I'm seeing more and more people. I think Texas Opera Ghost got one too that are custom made that look
If
really
you're still in
accurate.
the chat, you look amazing, by the way. If you're still here, yeah, you look absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so it's just kind of cool to see. You got your suit, which looks incredible. So it's kind of, I just like seeing people kind of go and go for it, really. All right. How are you doing on that side?
Okay, yeah. I'm just
Good.
trying to apply the secondary hair, which is the most messiest thing ever. I wish I might just buy like an old man wig and hack it to bits and just try and do it that way, maybe.
When I get done gluing this down, I will run and grab something that I bought off Amazon that might be an option for people.
Yeah.
I got it just to see what it looked like, but also maybe for the guest on the Rue one that I'm doing coming up. Is a hair topper. It's just a partial hair piece done on lace, kind of like mine, but not crazy looking, right? And it's designed to just fill maybe like if somebody has really thin on top of their head.
Yeah.
Let me go grab that and see if I can show it to you guys.
Right, right, 1 second, guys. I cannot see it at all. I'm like blind here, so 1 second. Let me try and have a read of. Right, my suit was thrifted. Yeah, that's a really good way to do it. Like my first suit was actually off eBay, and it cost me probably under £100. So it was probably the better way to do it actually, if you really want to do the suit as well. I can't. God, my eyes are so bad. It's like why is this? Would you ever consider doing Rowell? Yes, I did a very basic Rowell. I just literally just stuck on a bow tie and a bit of the suit, and I just didn't have any makeup on and stuck my hair back for Rowell. But Phantom on a Budget has done Rowell before, and with like the Hussar uniform, and it's absolutely fantastic. So
yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah, I actually think about bringing Raul back because I want to do some different reels with different characters and kind of have some more fun with this. So it won't be a serious Raul cosplay, but it'll be convincing from the waist up, at least. Good enough for Instagram reels. Okay, so this is what I bought. It's called a hair topper and kind of looks like this. It's still a little bit too thick for the alopecia stuff, but you could probably easily thin it. And it has like that middle bit. And the idea is that, again, if you're kind of thin haired on the top, it just sits there and it blends into your hair. But I think you could probably make this work if you thinned it out a little bit. Could probably be a pretty decent alopecia wig if you kind of stuck it on in the back. So that's an option for people to work with. I don't know if that's easier than just doing crepe hair, honestly, but I always look for solutions, and that's a potential solution. All right, crazy hair is on.
you look amazing.
Thank you. I'm sure you look amazing. I cannot believe I can't see what you're doing.
Well, I look something anyway. It's fun to me. It's
all right. Got some more comments. Again, a very lively group in here. I'm loving it. Thanks, guys. Yeah, thrifting, thrifting tail suits is definitely a way to start. Those that are really obsessive about tailcoats, me, they do change quite a bit over the different decades, different eras. But honestly, any tailcoat from kind of any time will pass as a phantom coat. So you can get away with getting them fairly cheap on eBay, like you said. Vinted, Pinterest, not Pinterest, but Poshmark. There are a bunch of options, and that's a great way to get started with Phantom cosplay. Pretty much any male character from that show, it's easy to get started. Thrifting is a lot harder, obviously, if you're trying to do like Christine, because
yeah, Yeah, those
That one's
dresses.
not happening.
Maria Bjornsson, your dresses are beautiful.
Just can't replicate greatness like that.
No, no, of course.
Oh, Grimace has got another really great point. So getting stuff from theaters. So, and that's how I got my first set of dedicated Phantom trousers was actually from a theater sale. So occasionally your local theater, community theater will try to kind of refresh, their costume stock. They might do it as a fundraiser, get rid of just old costumes that they don't need anymore. And that can be a great way to pick up a great piece for next to nothing. So I've done that a couple of times. It's really, really good. So great point. Question from Jaden. Who is your favorite Christine?
Uh, I'll have to say my first, which was Gina Beck. Like she was a very very feisty Christine, and I liked her adaptation of how she did it. So yeah, that was Gina Beck. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm trying to think who my favorite is. Mm. Man, I've got a kind of a long list. I'm gonna go with Elizabeth Southard, who is Gary Mauer's wife. Her witching was just bring the house down, weeping.
Did they ever
So
get to
good.
perform together?
They did, yeah.
Oh
So
wow.
she was actually the alternate while he was the Phantom.
Oh my god.
So they got together twice a week on stage. Phenomenal chemistry, as you might imagine. Like you can just tell, like they were so comfortable with each other. Like in Final Layer, she would get up in his face, like, ooh. Yeah, incredible chemistry. So I think that was part of it. Great voice. I'm leaving a lot of people. I probably have 5 or 10 Christines that I could probably name and would be grateful to see any single one of them. But yeah. And then the other question Jaden had for both of us was, how do you feel about Sierra's Christine?
How do I
Sierra
feel
Bucket.
about my thoughts on Sierra Bogers Christine? Oh god.
I think I know where you're going now.
Yeah, I don't really want to. Like, there was a question before that was on the live of what I thought about. Oh, what's his name? It was a Phantom on Broadway. It was a naughty. What's his bloody name? I can't remember. Anyway, someone asked me a question I didn't want to answer, but I'm not going to answer that. Well, okay. I will answer that question. She's not my cup of tea. That's all I can say. Not my.
Yeah.
Not my cup of English breakfast tea. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Not your Earl Grey.
Not my Earl Grey, no. But I can see why everyone does like her though. Like the Ramin and Sierra thing, like they are very very good together. But it's not everyone. It's not my cup of tea. Like I do like Ramin, but I don't like him as in the title role.
Mm-hmm.
I do like his mask. That's that's literally the only part of the thing that I like about his like his first run of Phantom was his mask. What I liked, but apart from that, yeah. So that's. But there is a very diverse spectrum of Phantoms and Christines, and you can't just whittle it down to seeing the 25th anniversary. You know, it's a big thing. You know.
Yeah, it's a big Phantom world out there. I think for me, I actually saw her live on Broadway. She did a quick stint on Broadway after the 25th. I went in there ready to hate her, and I walked out actually liking her. But I think for me, it's just that everybody's always like kind of like you said, it's just Ramin and Sierra. It's Ramin and Sierra. It's always those two.
Literally, yeah.
And it just gets old after a while. So
yeah, so it's like it says Gerard Butler, but if he was on stage, he wouldn't be able to do it. It would just be there'd be no.
Yeah.
It's just a big no, you know. It's like he was good. Well, I'm not good, anyway. That's I'm going off stint now, but anyway.
Yeah, it's their popularity, I think, comes from the fact that they were in the 25th anniversary. It was on DVD, it was on Blu-ray. You could watch it in your home, and they were just accessible. And Gemma, I
Yeah.
think you have the same point in the chat that doesn't mean that they're the best. It just means that they're best known. And I think that's probably a great way to put it.
Like if
They're
they actually
probably the
had
best known.
the people who was on that Majesty's Theatre, the actual cast that was in the show at the time in on the 25th, I'm sure they would be the biggest hype ever, you know,
Yep.
if they wasn't in it. So,
Yeah. And I think everybody's got kind of sick of them, but at the same time, it's like I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, I guess. And I think for me, it's hard to tell Andrew Lloyd Webber no. Like, hey, do you want to do the 25th? Hey, do you want to do a show on Broadway? Hey, Ramin, do you want to come and do the fourth Phantom thing on Broadway at the end of the celebration for 25th? Like, just keep getting drawn back into it.
Yeah, it's very used, well, overused in some cases.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there are other people in the wings waiting for their moment to shine who have probably got better vocal and acting talents, you know. So
agreed. All right, one last question, and I might go ahead and hop off here shortly.
Because here it's 11 o'clock at night. Well, nearly 11
Oh,
o'clock
yeah,
at
it's
night,
getting late for you. Probably want to be done. So this will be the last question from JWestINC993. What got you into makeup? For both of us, I guess. We kind of covered that earlier. For me, real quick, it was I did a Halloween version of this decades ago, my first attempt at it ever. Almost wounded myself with the makeup and realized that, you know, there need to be kind of tutorials, and I wanted to learn more about it. And so I kind of got into doing it on an annual basis for a couple of years in a row. And by then, I really discovered that I love special effects makeup, and it kind of just took off from there. So
there you go. There's someone in a mask there. I can see that comment, but put the mask on, guys. There you go. There's a mask anyway.
Mine's upstairs. So
okay.
Oops. Didn't think that one through. My bad. But for those of you that are going to still be on in about 45 minutes, I'm going to have a quick bite to eat and then get in the costume and then do some stuff.
Something to eat, and have something to drink as well, definitely.
Yep, definitely. So, all right. Are there any final questions that you have before we wrap this up?
Anyone?
Good. That looks like we're good.
I think we've answered everyone's questions. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wait, here we go. How do you slick the wig? Don't even ask me that question because I don't know how to. I just hacked it to bits and used a lot of foam gel stuff to just get it in position. It took a long time, but yeah.
Reading anything they said, how do you stick the wig properly? So if you mean gluing down the wig, it's just either more prosthetic adhesive or spirit gum. Yep. So that's the only real reason I use spirit gum these days is if I want to glue the wig down, and I only glue it down just in front of the temples and the ears. Just tack it down. So cool. All right. I think we're good.
Yeah, I need food and drink. But
yeah, go get food and drink.
So thank you so much for this. It's been a very long time since I wanted to speak to you, and you know, and this opportunity has been fantastic as well. So thank you for taking your time out of your day to do this.
No, I really appreciate the invite. This is a lot of fun, and maybe we can do this again in the future. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for folks that are curious about the makeup and kind of want to see it done in real time, and having you do it as well, I think is a really great idea. So I'm really grateful to have taken part. So thank you very much.
Right, just an ending thing. How would I save this? How would I save this video?
Yeah, so when you go to exit out of it,
okay,
it should give you the option to either share or discard.
Okay.
So choose share, and at that point you'll be able to put in like you know, any hashtags that you want to or description.
Right.
And I think below that, you should have the option to tag me as a collaborator.
Okay.
And if you do that, that should allow me to also share it on my page as well.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Right, I'll do that
Yep.
now. Okay, well, thank you so much anyway, and thank you for everyone who turned up as well, because, it's been 3 hours, so yeah, thank you for all those that stayed as well, definitely.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate it, and happy Phantoming, everyone, this year. Happy New Year.
Bye.
And
Yeah,
Alex, you take care. Thank you again so much. I really appreciate it.
I'll see you again.
See you again. Bye.
Bye. Bye.